Awesome. Yeah. And so I think you might get a notification saying I'm recording and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And how I normally do it, I'll just I'll kind of run you through the his whole service, if you will. I imagine it'll take about 40 minutes, like, and we're not going to do everything. In fact, I'll just open it up to the slide right here. Let me know if you guys can see that. Can you guys see it right here?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just in short, what I've listed here, and this is more for your reference, these are all the different battles he fought in. And there was a heck of a lot, right? So we're not gonna go through all of them. I mean, he was overseas for, as you can see, about 3 years. And yeah, he spent a lot of time in a trench, but every day he was doing something different. And some of those days he was going through a battle. And so those are sometimes the most significant chapters. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But then also some of his day-to-day experience. And there's some funny stories there that you might have not heard of. Yeah, so anyway, it should be interesting. If you guys have a question at all during it, don't hesitate to interrupt me or something like that. Yeah.
That, this picture of Billy or any other picture of Billy when he was young and our son Owen are very, very, very much alike.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yeah, the genetics are quite strong.
Yeah.
For the way they look.
We had there's another family his name I guess is Chester McGowan, and it was funny because we had, I guess, Chester came back from the war and had 5 children. Each of those 5 children had 5 children.
Oh,
and
wow.
So as we said, there's a lot of grandkids, and they recently, I think it was last year, they gave the uniform to our museum, so we put it on display and that sort of thing, and the whole family came out, and it was funny because we had a photo of Chester right there, in uniform and all that sort of thing. Right beside it, one of the grandchildren, I kid you not, spitting image. And so it's
exactly right
there, Bonnie. You could definitely tell they're related. Because on the other hand, like, I mean, if you were to look at my great grandpa's service overseas, there was some, they call it VDG on the charge sheet. So it's venereal disease.
Oh, really?
We said there might have been some other descendants who, they didn't totally look like the family tree, right? But yeah. Anyway, so
our son Owen, who looks a lot like Billy, he's going to be a history teacher or professor, of history, and so he wants to watch. He wants to be a part of this. He lives in Kamloops with his wife right now, but he eventually wants to meet up and watch this thing as well.
Awesome. And is he the one who's going to be moving to Scotland shortly, or that's where his sights for?
Yes.
Gotcha. That's awesome, hey. Well, especially if you're interested in history, I think it's perhaps one of the best places to go in the world, right?
If he's going to be over there, and you might go to France again, right, this summer?
Yeah. Well, I'm there from Thursday actually, so Thursday until September. So
really?
Yeah. I'm there the whole season, if you will. So if any date works up, as long as I have enough foresight, it should be we should be able to work it out. And and I'd love to, even you guys, if you guys can make it out. I know it's probably a bit more challenging for you guys up north. But it's super special, and like one of the things that I'll show you guys, but even where this photograph was taken, and I think I was telling you, Rob, on the phone, I actually figured out the exact spot that photo was taken.
Oh, so you did?
Really cool thing where it's not even like when we go, like if we were to do a tour, it wouldn't just be going to places like the Somme or the general places at Vimy Ridge. I would actually bring you to the specific spots where no one really goes to, but it's you'd literally be walking in the footsteps of your grandpa in this case, right? So but anyway, it's a huge passion of mine, and so and I'm just happy to share it, right? It's that sort of thing.
Owen loves that kind of stuff too. If he's over there, it would be nice for you guys to get together. You could probably be good friends or whatever.
Oh, right? Absolutely, yeah. And I'm curious too. I want to check out this. If you say he's a spitting image, right? That's always always kind of neat to see, right? Where it might be, who am I speaking to? Your great grandpa or you? That sort of thing, right? So, But anyway, once again, sorry, but with the presentation, if you have anything to add, or perhaps, for instance, Rob, there might be a story you might have heard. Don't hesitate to let me know. Like if what I'm saying might resonate for you, and you're like, oh, it sounds a lot like that. And then maybe at the end of the presentation, what we'll do is just to kind of keep it all together. So for your family and any future generations, if you could share a few words about what you heard about your grandpa. I know you were a bit young when he passed away, right? But, stuff like that. So Because that's what's, even for our regimental archives, we know what he did overseas, but often what's lost is kind of the personal stories, or what he was actually like as a man or father, and especially in a post-war world where,
Right.
and as you guys can see right down here, he went through a lot, right? So it's one of those interesting
Yeah,
things.
I got that little aluminum medal, which is very poorly made, but it's the liberation of the town of Mons. It says the liberation of Mons.
Brilliant. Oh my gosh.
I'll take better pictures of some of that stuff and send it to you, like really good detail and stuff.
That'd be great. Well, that's good to know, because I'll include that at the kind of the end of the presentation. Because one of the things,
Sure.
I think you guys are familiar with the Orville Palmer. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah,
Or maybe
I got pictures of him.
Yeah, I'm very close to that that family. So, for instance, I was just with the granddaughter yesterday afternoon and that sort of thing, and I think I mentioned on the phone, but Orville actually kept a big diary. It's about 600 pages of his day-to-day experience.
Wow.
And once he was a runner with Billy, so Orville's actually in this photo. He's two guys to the left, if you will.
Oh, okay.
And it's kind of neat because he actually mentions Billy Miller, and some of the photos of him is with Billy Miller and so on and so forth. But Orville actually talked about getting that medal, and he said it's as you mentioned, it's a really cheap aluminum.
Yeah.
But it was the first medal they had actually received for their service. So the other medals will only come out later. But for them, it meant a lot because that city had been under German occupation for over 50 months. Yeah,
Wow.
they got all the money together and they sent them to they sent the medals out in February 1919 when they were in England waiting to go home. So it meant a lot to them. It was kind of, put the cherry on the top of the war and gave a bit of closure, as a thank you for what they did. So it was, it meant a lot to him. And so the fact he kept it, it just proves that, it was significant.
I just want to say something. Our daughter, Heather.
Yeah.
She's our oldest child. She's joining in now.
Oh, wow.
Excellent. Say hello, Joe.
Yeah. Oh, hi, Heather.
And Marty, Heather's friend Marty's back here.
Oh, brilliant. Awesome. You guys are more than welcome to join. So I'm just noticing, I'm still trying to figure out how the software works exactly. I think it's pretty good, but I just switched tabs so I can see you guys and it's still showing, which is good. So
okay.
Well, without further ado, I'll get going. And then if you guys got to go too, you got to go. I totally get it. If we go over time, I can.
I'll
send you guys
nothing to do.
We have all afternoon.
Oh, perfect. There we go. So
I wouldn't have minded seeing that picture of Orville Palmer.
Yeah, well,
don't mind, whatever.
Yeah, I've got them later on in the slideshow. So
you do? Okay.
I've also started transcribing the whole memoir, but it's tough. Once again, it's over 600 pages. Right. So for Orville, it was a Great Depression project. So he was out of work, and he kept. And I've actually seen two of them, these diaries in the trenches, and so he more or less transcribed them. Yeah, which is pretty neat, right? So. But yeah, anyway, so what we're looking at right here, guys, this is what are known as attestation papers. And so in 1915, and on the 15th of July, 1915, that's where he went before recruiting officer and gave all the information about, what's your trader calling, where were you born, so on and so forth. And this is all available online now through the National Archives.
Okay.
Happened in Edmonton, and at the time he was only 22 years old. So if we do the math right now, we can figure out that all the experiences we're going to be talking about is going to be, he gets to France about a year later, so about 23 is about the age of 23 up to about the age of 25 to 26. So he's very young in today's standards for what he's going to go through, but back then that's more or less the average age. When he does join, though, right away, he's you can see this is a group of the 66th Battalion. He sticks out, though. You can see him right here, and they get it up. They say, he's the guy on the right, but obviously that's Billy Miller there. And it says right now, 3 men who took a big part in the 66th Battalion's victory in the horse show military road race. In the center is the veteran trainer, so on and so forth. But then it literally mentions right here, while the other runner is Miller, winning of second place. So obviously what you try and do is you have all these different overseas battalions being recruited. You're doing your training and all that, but they want to try and get some regimental pride. And so Billy Miller is kind of one of those poster boys, the top athletes. So he's actually already representing his battalion. They're going to do a lot of training in Edmonton. Later, they're going to go down to Calgary. And if you go there today, you can search up Signal Hill. It's now a shopping center, but on the hillside, you'll see a bunch of numbers, and you can actually see some of them up in chalk there. Those are still there to this day. And so that was known as Sarcy Camp. And that's exactly where he was doing a training before being shipped off overseas to go serve.
Is he in that picture?
I don't know if he's in this one here.
It's hard to say.
In a whole battalion, there would be about 1,000 guys. I think this is just the band, really. So I don't think he'd be there.
I see.
Yeah, because I mean,
I guess so. Of course, it's a band. I can see the instruments. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he would have been a bit cooler than a band. Normally, what happens with a band, they're kind of the guys at the back. Whereas, I think it's safe to say your grandpa there, Rob, was not so much at the back, right? So
right.
But we'll get more into that a bit later. So it's a long trip when they eventually leave Edmonton. They're traveling by train, and they go all the way, I believe, to Halifax. It is, and then from Halifax you get on a boat, a big troop ship, and then you make your way across the Atlantic over to Europe. Once he gets to Europe, you can see there's London up there. He's based out of this place called Shorncliffe, and he gets there in spring of 1916. And this is really the final staging area. You're meant to do a bit more training, but really from here, you're extremely close to the battlefields right here. You can see the red line. These are the front line positions. This is where Canada is and what's known as the Ypres salient. And they're just waiting for some of the units to have a big battle, need to be replaced. They have a lot of casualties and they need reinforcements. And then they would draw on the guys up in England to come in as reinforcements. And so your grandpa arrives in England just at the end of May. And I kid you not, within days, there's a huge battle that happens. The Germans attack the Canadian trenches. And then there's a huge amount of casualties. And especially the 49th Battalion, the Edmonton Regiment, are meant to lead this counterattack in broad daylight against German machine guns. And almost overnight, they lose half the battalion. So there's 600 guys to come in, to go into the attack, and about 300 to come out. Oh, yeah. Can you hear me okay?
No, you're glitching.
Kind of doing some funny stuff. So you said they lost a whole bunch of people, and then they brought them in, and that's about the last we heard?
Okay. Can you hear me better now? Is this okay?
Yeah, it's not too bad now, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so what happens is and this is all the information that your grandpa gets, is that there was a big battle in the Ypres salient, and the Canadians lost a lot of guys, and especially the Edmonton unit. And they needed reinforcements. They needed about 400 reinforcements. So each and every one in that one of the guys in that 66 battalion that your grandpa joined, they realized that they weren't going to go to France. They were going to be broken up for reinforcements. And they asked each man if they would put their foot forward and volunteer to go to the battlefield. And there were about 400 to put their foot forward, including your grandfather. And so normally, once again, when you go to England, you're meant to kick around there for a few months. This is kind of your last, paradise before hell.
Yeah,
and what we see is within days, your grandpa is one of those, devoted volunteers who really wants to be part of the war effort. And once again, he's no coward, right? For all that to be said. So he eventually joins them on the Western Front. And when we look at the Western Front, there's a lot of dangers, right? You have machine guns, and you can see right up here. This is a Maxim machine gun. This is a standard what they're using. Do you want to guess how many rounds can fire through that barrel in every minute? Just take a guess.
Probably like I want to say 1,000 rounds, but maybe it's less.
Yeah, it's a bit less. In fact, Second World War, the technology gets good enough that they can do even over 1,000. But in the First World War, it's firing 600 rounds per minute. But in each,
I think it's 500.
Yeah, and in each and every trench, you'd have multiple of these, right? So likewise, you had snipers, so you really had to keep your head down. And the problem is, though, even in the trench, you can't really dodge. You can dodge snipers and machine guns because you're underground. But then, you can see it's open top up there, right? So if an artillery shell comes in, still dangerous. All that to be said, on the Western Front, wrong place, wrong time, and you could be killed. Yeah. And so usually the closer you are to the front, the worse your chances are. And God forbid you have to do an attack and get out of that trench and try and make your way across no man's land, because there's these waiting for you. There's all the German infantry, and further behind you have the artillery waiting to stem the advance. So this is a sort of deadlock that your grandfather is coming into. When he arrived on the Western Front, this photograph is of Canadian troops in the Ypres salient, the exact same month your grandpa first steps foot into Flanders Fields. It's a really hot month. You can look at the uniforms they would have been wearing. It's all made out of wool.
Yeah, it would have been hot. My God.
If you can believe it, that month there wasn't one day that the temperature dropped below 30 degrees. So it was a hot summer day.
Lock the door.
What's that? Can you hear?
Sorry, go ahead.
Our dog tries to get in the front door because it's one of those latches like this, and
oh yeah,
she feels, but she's muddy, and
so our daughter's locking the door.
So the dog.
Okay, yeah, no problem. Totally get it. So this is where Billy ends up, and once again, he's about 23 years old at the time. Just a little quote here. This is from a soldier who was actually. I hate to say it, your grandfather was one of the replacements. He was actually killed in that counterattack that happens early on in June. And your grandfather first steps foot in the Ypres salient on about June 11th, about a week later, because this guy and a lot of his comrades ended up getting killed. He said, if there's such a thing as hell on earth, this is it. This cost thousands of lives to hold it, but Kitchener, so kind of the commander at the time.
Yeah, the guy with the big mustache.
Yeah, exactly. Your country needs you. To fall back and make it straight now. You can understand how their artillery can ply on us from all three sides at the same time, and they sure make use of it. So if we look at this Ypres salient here, you just follow the line. When your grandpa comes in, it's a terrible place to go because from the north, the Germans can position their artillery up here, also from the east, and also from the south. Where the Canadians are, they're in this little sector, and if you were in that sector, you were more or less surrounded, as this Hill guy says. Once again, the Germans can fire you up from the top, from the side, and from the bottom. And so when your grandfather first got there to Ypres, and it's the same when he goes to some of the other sectors, especially the Somme, the first thing you could tell was the smell, because you could just smell from the kind of the rotting flesh in those bodies that have been a battlefield since 1914. Right. And by the summertime, oh my gosh, it just, the corpse
30 degrees.
Yeah. So it's quite something to come into, right? It's you're welcome to the Western Front. The general rotation too, and this is going to be the same for his whole war. What the Canadians had figured out is it's too much to ask the guys to be in the front line the whole time. So you're only meant to be in the front line as a unit for 7 days, and then you're going to be brought back to reserve positions. So you're still kind of in the forward area, but you're not right up close to the enemy.
Right,
You'd probably be doing working parties. You'd be going out at night helping to dig trenches, or perhaps bringing up barbed wire, or bringing up stretchers, that sort of thing. And then the best time would be after that, 2 weeks in the forward area, you'd be out at rest and you'd be recuperating. And so that's where you could spend your money at the bar or something like that.
Yeah.
And, really get away. It's important to mention here too, because what your grandpa was, obviously he was quite the athlete, and he was very fit. He was a runner. And so in each battalion, you would have different roles. The majority of guys would just be infantry. You'd also have a small segment, which might be the band, a small segment, which might be signalers. But the most efficient way to deliver a message within the trench system would be through runner. Do you guys know, though, what would happen if, you in uniform started running out of the trenches when your unit was meant to be in the front line, and let's say you went to the reserve area where, you weren't really meant to be? Do you know what that would constitute?
You're going AWOL or something, eh?
Exactly, AWOL, deserting, that sort of thing. Or also how they might see it or interpret it is cowardice. Even if you're trying to deliver a message. Now, what was kind of cool when I saw the photo, and Mike had shared it to me when I was in Calgary, of your grandfather's uniform, Rob. Did you notice how there was an armband on the uniform?
Yeah, isn't it red or?
Yeah, it's meant to be red, and it would have been redder at the time. And I imagine just after 100 years, faded, right? Now he would have worn that for a good purpose. With that band, it denotes you as being a runner. There would have been other bands. If you had a green band, it would have been a scout. So you would have had similar perks, if you will. Right. And what that meant is that you now had free will to kind of move between these different positions with different orders. You were literally delivering messages. The other thing too is your grandfather wouldn't have really seen the trenches like this. If he's a runner, it's quite difficult to run through a trench where, it keeps turning around and there's all these guys here and there's things you can trip off. Do you know how he would deliver most of his messages if he wanted to go all the way from the front line to, let's say, the reserve line 400 yards away? I want to take a guess.
Overland or what?
he would go overland. So they would wait for it to get dark out, and then you would go over top the trench and, kind of hope for the best, because there's still shells landing, artillery shells landing down.
And machine guns going off.
But the biggest fear was actually when the flares went up, because every now and again, what would happen, the Germans or the Canadians would shoot up a signal flare, and then the dark would turn into day. And then pretty quick, they had to figure out how to deal with this, right? What do you think you would do if you're totally exposed up there on top of the trench, and the Germans are looking for you and the flare goes up? What would be your instinct?
Well, you just flatten.
Flatten, exactly. But that wasn't the actual thing to do, because if you flatten, the Germans now can see your movement, and then they can target you. In fact, your grandpa was so ballsy, and once again, he basically didn't really get wounded during the war. There was one small instance, but it wasn't from direct enemy fire, that every time the signal flare went up, he knew exactly what to do. And you just got to imagine this. You're meant to stand perfectly still. You might be running, but the idea is you stop your movement, you hear that flare go up, and then you have this nerve-wracking moment of, I don't know, it might be 30 or 40 seconds, where if you move a hair, the Germans now can see your movement, because that's what your eyes capture. Right. And then they'll look up with machine guns, and if the machine guns don't get you, they'll call in the artillery on that position until they get you. So your grandfather, as a 23-year-old, had to know this, and luckily it looks like he passed the test. One of the most dangerous roles is that of a runner, but it's not that of a good runner. It's that of a rookie runner who doesn't know these little instincts.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So this is the sort of stuff your grandpa's learning. What eventually happens, though, is later on, he's up there for about 2 months in Ypres, which is Flanders Fields. That's where John McCrae wrote the poem. But further, all the way down to the south, you have what's known as the Somme front, and that is where the British Army and the French Army join. And so that year, 1916, the Allies say, okay, we're going to lead this big push, a big offensive, and between us, instead of separating our forces, we're going to work together, and we'll push all the way to Berlin. Unfortunately, what happens, it's not quite so, and the initial attack failed, and so later on, more and more troops come in, including the Canadians, including your grandpa, and they're trying to stem the tide and keep pushing. When your grandpa came to the Somme, it's kind of cool. This is the actual road he marched down. He had to march about 80 kilometers. If you can
wow.
Over a few days in hot summer sun and that sort of thing. And there's first-hand accounts of the signalers coming down this road, and they're singing all these marching songs. But similar to Ypres, they said the first thing they could see and sense of the Somme was, one, the smell. But the other thing is this thing. Do you see this? It's a basilica.
Yeah.
And during the war, this is how it looked. Yeah.
Oh, man.
So you see all these troops marching down this road?
Yeah.
So this road, which today, leads to Albert, your grandpa would have marched all the way down here. And after, I don't know, about 2 miles, he ended up walking right by here. And in every memoir of a soldier who was in that same column with your grandpa, they looked up and this always mentioned the memoirs, the letters, and that sort of thing. This kind of stuck with them all. That's how you knew you were on the Somme.
The steeple.
The fallen steeple. And a lot of the soldiers were quite superstitious. And so the general rumor was that as soon as it actually finally fell, the war would be over and we can go home. And a lot to be said, it seemed like it was nearly going to fall. But, when you got underneath it, apparently, and you looked up, apparently the French engineers had fixed it in place so it wasn't going to fall. But it's quite amazing. So today, it's all that to be said. The building's still there today. They rebuilt it, and if you go to France, you can actually still walk down that road in your grandpa's footsteps, which is quite incredible. This is what it looked like at the time, though, and you can see them bringing up all the different equipment. You see here, these are machine guns, and it's
machine guns.
You can see also back there pickaxes to entrench. You got your helmet on because you're in the forward combat area. Your grandpa, being a runner, had some perks, because once again, it's a dangerous job if you're going over top, and you don't want to be weighed down by heavy equipment. Luckily for your grandpa, when he was doing that march, he didn't have to carry all that equipment. So in fact, he would have a rifle, he would have just a pistol and a little ammo pouch. Still all the heavy, helmets and the wool uniforms, but that was, he had a bit better of an experience. And then, but once again, the other side to it too, with the whole Somme battle is it was a battle, so they were going to go over the top. When I just want to see, it's my first time going through this presentation, so I just want to, so sorry if I'm kind of back and forth a bit.
No, that's good.
Just to give you kind of the top down view as the generals had it. This is kind of the front lines, if you could imagine. So the blue, that's our British front line, the Allied positions. And on the 1st of July, so what we have is Canada Day, that's when the British launched the attack. And it turned out to be the bloodiest day in military history for them. So between the north up here at Beaumont-Hamel and all the way south, this village is called Montauban. They lost 57,000 soldiers killed, wounded, or missing in this bit of no man's land, which is just simply unbelievable. They were meant to push all the way through and capture this place called Courcelette that same day. But at the end of that day, the only place they had some taken was just over here. And there's quite a few reasons for it. One was bad tactics. Two was not enough bombardment. But nonetheless, they had all these guys still coming to the front line. And so they thought, okay, instead of calling off the offensive, we're going to keep going and we're going to exploit that success. And so by the time your grandfather arrived, a lot of this ground had been taken, but at a huge, huge, heavy cost. They'd called in New Zealanders, they'd called in Australians, they'd called in South Africans. And so everyone from the Empire was coming. The last ones to call in were the Canadians. And so the Canadians eventually captured this place called Courcelette. And your grandpa comes in right after they do that. And he joins them right at this hill over here. You can see there's a little French roundabout. Yeah. I don't think I added a photo, but this is actually, it's kind of interesting because he just gets there. He marches through Albert, through that basilica, arrives there, and then guess what happens? An artillery shell randomly lands beside him. And then and he's
back a little bit. You glitched again.
I'm good.
Through the town of Albert, and then we kind of lost you.
Okay, let me know. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. Yeah.
Perfect. Awesome. So this is the first place. I'd mentioned, Rob, that we're going to look at a few places that your grandpa's nearly killed.
Yeah.
And this is one of them. So right here where you see Tar Hill, they had just come out of battle and all that sort of thing. And you'd think, okay, this is a good spot. We're well behind the front line. The front line's all the way up here.
Yeah.
But there's still artillery shells landing all around. And occasionally they land pretty close. And the Germans recognized that this is a troop encampment. And so they sent in an artillery shell. And it landed about 5 meters away from your grandpa.
Oh,
and
wow.
Your grandpa at the time, luckily, he was kind of, if you could imagine, he wasn't facing the explosion dead on. He was facing it from the side. And when it explodes, when an artillery shell explodes, it's not just a blast, but it's all the little fragments from shrapnel that you watch out about. And one of those little fragments hit him in the thigh. And so
that's how
he got wounded. So it was his first day on the Somme. And he hadn't even been to the front line yet, but a shell came in and it wounded him. But I tell you, this was almost a blessing because what's going to happen? He ends up going to hospital, and instead of being on these beds, the rest of the guys who weren't wounded end up going back into battle, and they have one of the worst attacks ever. It's the only time for the 49th Battalion they go into an attack and they fail to capture any objective. There's one unit, one company, which goes in with 109 guys, and they come out with only 15 left standing.
Oh.
And the rest in the after-action report, the commander says, I have no idea what happened to D Company. They went over the top, and they were never seen again. And so if it wasn't for that shell burst here, Rob,
he probably got killed too.
Yeah, your grandpa would have been going over the top against what was known as Regina Trench, and things might have ended up quite a bit different. Once again, it was the worst battle they ever had, really. One of the worst for losses. So it's kind of interesting. You could either see it here, that shell explosion, that nearly killed him, because once again, if he was a bit closer to that shell explosion, things might have been a bit different. If he was a bit further away, then he wouldn't have been hit at all, and he would have gone over the top, and he might have been killed in that battle. We don't know.
Yeah,
but it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
So with soldiers, it quickly became this. They became incredibly stoic when they were on the front line, because with all these dangers that were around them, if you keep worrying about every little bit and thinking, what if a shell lands here? What if I stand there? Will I be safer? Then you will literally go insane. And so the soldiers had this, oh, I should worry mentality, which it was kind of said as a joke.
Yeah.
And the idea was that you really shouldn't worry about anything. And because, and always be optimistic, because it wasn't a sprint, it was a marathon to try and survive it all, right? But equally, you could see some of the faces of these guys, had been wounded, and it's quite traumatizing. So anyway, for your grandpa, he gets, once again, here's the front line. He gets sent all the way back to the hospitals way back here on the coast, and he's not there for long. Pretty soon he's recuperating. And once again, they need all the guys at the front line, because similar to the battle in Ypres we talked about earlier, that battle in the Somme, they lost a bunch of guys. And so quickly, within about a month, your grandfather was back, and he's now sent up to Vimy Ridge, which obviously is quite famous in Canadian history. So your grandfather actually serves at Vimy Ridge. When he gets there, though, it looks quite different. We might have an idea about what France looks like, because Europe tends to be warmer than Canada. In fact, that winter, his winter on the front line, and these are actually some of the original trenches up there. It's one of the coldest on record, and so temperatures plummet to about -25 some nights, which is quite remarkable if you think about what they're wearing and also what their duties are. Along with the extreme cold that rained a heck of a lot, Orville Palmer in his memoir, once again acting as a runner, he said he eventually wrote that if I don't mention it's raining, then know that it is. Like if I say otherwise, right? Because it just rained all the time. And so what you end up with is the trenches are either freezing cold or extremely muddy, because all the water goes to the lowest point.
Or ice.
He's there though from late portion of 1916 up until there's a big battle there in April. But he spends about 6 months there. And if I show you guys right here, this is an aerial photo of Vimy Ridge, and it's through these exact communication trenches that your grandfather Rob was running back and forth delivering messages. The front lines here were extremely close, so close that along with artillery shells and trenches, you would also have things known as trench mortars, and these trench mortars would be positioned in the front line, and they could travel almost at a vertical trajectory, and so they would drop right in the trench. And so there's only about 100 feet between the line here.
That's all.
Line, yeah. And so in the front line, you would have a lookout looking across, make sure there's no German attack, but also lookout looking up, just to make sure no trenches were coming down. And a common thing, and we'll hear it later about from Orville Palmer again, but a huge problem in these trenches was those trench mortars, because they were so close, and especially for the runners, because you couldn't bunker down into a dugout or something like that. You always had to be out and moving, right? So the one thing I want to ask though, and this is the other thing, I pointed out right here, these are shell holes. Over here are trenches. Do you guys see these big craters?
Are those from mines?
You're spot on, exactly. And so that's the other kind of crazy thing about it. Your grandfather, when he was at Vimy, would have actually been subjected to mine warfare. And this is really scary, because if you can imagine, when you're in that front line trench and there might be a lull in the shelling or so on and so forth, you could often hear tapping. And what that tapping was is beneath your feet, if you dig about 2 meters down, eventually you'll hit a chalk layer. And that chalk is the same chalk from the White Cliffs of Dover. It goes underneath the English Channel and all the way to Vimy Ridge. And it's perfect for digging, because you don't need big power tools or a big drill. All you need is a pickaxe and a shovel, and you can start digging a tunnel. And so what Billy would have been hearing, and once again, he's, I think, 24 at this time, he would have been hearing the steady tap. And that tap was scary, but it wasn't terrifying. What was terrifying was the next day when you didn't hear that tapping, because you could imagine that means they're bringing in the explosives. What you guys can see here, this is one such mine exploding on the Somme, and this is 40 tons of ammonal explosive. It's a huge explosion, and it was freaky for these soldiers, because you had to stay in that frontline position. If you weren't there, you were a deserter, and you could be executed or killed. And so, unfortunately, if you go to Vimy today, you can still see these mass mine craters, and these are in fact mass graves. This used to be the trench where soldiers were holding. And then it just went up in not just flames, but just, the guys would have got vaporized.
Yeah.
Yeah, but once again, you can see how close the trenches are. So the two lips ended up becoming the front line. So the Canadian front line's here, and the trench you see here is the German. And this is a trench map at the time, showing actually Edmonton crater. So there was an Allied crater, that Allied mine that blew up, and the 49th Battalion occupied it. And once again, this would have been one of the roles of your grandfather to help with. So, but it's about 6 months that he's just on Vimy Ridge. There's no battle, but the weather looks like this. There's snow. You're outside, you're cold, or it's raining and it's muddy. But he would have known the Vimy trenches extremely well, because once again, he's running back and forth. Eventually, there's a big battle that takes place. Now, I won't go too much into detail here, because you can find a lot of resources online. The other thing I'll do too, Rob, is I'll send you this presentation, or I guess to Bonnie, your email there. And there's a short video, about 5 minutes. And instead of me describing the battle, I compiled some veteran interviews from the 49th Battalion with some film. And so you'll actually hear the battle from the guys that served side by side with Billy, which, believe me, is much more interesting than me talking here, right? But what you can see, this tunnel right here, it's actually really cool. It's really cool because this is one of 13 tunnels that were dug beneath Vimy Ridge in preparation for the battle. The idea was that instead of bringing troops above ground through a trench system where they could be observed by German troops, they're going to bring them underground. And there's a section of this tunnel, and this is actually the tunnel used by the 49th Battalion, but there's a section off to the back, and it's not really open normally to the public. But if you guys give me enough foresight, I know the people over there, so even if I'm not there, we could probably get you into that section, because they have a room there. And I'd mentioned that runners in the 49th Battalion had some perks. And one of the perks, when they had this tunnel available, is the runners actually had a bedroom down there. Oh, can you hear me?
We never heard you anymore.
Oh, sorry, I missed it. When did it cut out?
Oh, just when you said one of the perks of the runners.
Oh, yeah. So one of the perks of the runners was that you didn't always have to be above ground. Some nights, once they had this tunnel dug, you could actually go down there, and they had a whole bedroom specifically for the runner section.
Oh,
and
wow.
So it literally is a bedroom that Billy would have slept in, your grandfather Rob would have slept in in Vimy Ridge. So you'd be going into the same space. So it's quite incredible. I was there with we did a association battlefield tour back in 2023. And along with some of the people that came was a family of a 49th Battalion runner. And it was really quite magical, because when we went in that room, and you can imagine there's no real air or wind that comes through here, but the grandson of that runner was stood just in the doorway. And when we heard it was where the runners were, all of a sudden there was a brush of air that came through.
Really?
And hair on the back of the neck stood up, right? So it's just, seriously, these are magical places there. And it's quite remarkable to imagine that your grandfather here, Rob, would have been running, if you were running that way away from the camera, you're going to the front line, or he might have been running back down this tunnel to get to his bed for the night, or to deliver a message back to headquarters. So he would have been running down the space. So
what would they have for lights in that tunnel?
They just had candles at the time.
Yeah.
And no, actually, they did have an electric light system installed. That's correct.
Oh, they did.
Yeah, most of the time it's candles. But one of the problems, they had literally hundreds of troops down there, and so a big thing was trying to get enough ventilation down there as well. So it's quite a engineering feat, because once again, you get the carbon monoxide poisoning and that sort of thing.
I bet.
Yeah, so it's one of those remarkable things. But what happens during the actual attack on the 9th of April?
Owen was there.
And we just passed through the anniversary here, so it was only the anniversary was a few days ago. But at 4:30 a.m., that's when all the troops start leaving the underground tunnels. It's likely that your grandfather would have still been in the tunnel when the initial attack went in. But the idea is then, they have about an hour to fill up the front line trenches, because at 5:30 there's going to be a creeping barrage that starts. So this barrage is going to follow a schedule. And the idea is that every 3 minutes, it's going to move back about 50 yards or keep advancing to the German line. And so that barrage of fire is going to destroy all the positions. The Canadian infantry can come in and capture it. and they can, the barrage is moving slow enough that, it'll do all the damage, and the infantry can just occupy. And it works like clockwork. So by 11 a.m., the whole brigade here, the formation of about 4,000 guys, including your grandpa, is able to capture their objective. The only problem is over here, the other Canadian division fails to capture the part of Vimy Ridge where the monument now stands. And there's machine gun fire that are shooting into the side of the of our guys here. So
what was that called?
Up here, Hill 145.
Oh, that's Hill 145.
Yeah, you've heard of it?
Yeah, I've heard of that. This is all treed now, but was it treed at the time, or was it just open?
It wasn't. I'll give you one better right here. So this is actually aerial images issued to the intelligence officer of the 49th Battalion before the attack.
So not much trees.
Not many trees, right? The idea, this is now considered the Zone Rouge in France, so the red zone. It was so devastated by battles, not only in 1917, but the French lost over 100,000 guys trying to capture this hill and another hill just a few miles away. And they captured the other hill, but never Vimy Ridge. So it was so saturated by this shell fire that they said, we can't do anything with it. We're gonna force the area and forget about it. And so that's what they did. But one of the areas that your grandfather was fighting in here was a wood. Do you see it right there?
Yeah.
And so this was known as Bois de la Folie. So it's basically crazy wood. And right here, and it's hard to tell, but it actually drops right off on Vimy Ridge. And it's through these two trenches. If you see, they're called communication trenches. Yeah. This is where a lot of the fighting your grandpa takes part in happens. The reason for it is if you're going to try and lead, if the Germans over here want to try and recapture Vimy Ridge, you can't really do it through a frontal assault. It's extremely difficult to try and climb such a steep hill and so on and so forth. You need to get onto a level playing field, pass through this communication trench, bring your guys up through here because it's relative safety from artillery and machine guns and so on and so forth. And then from there, you can try and recapture this important position. So it was the 49th Battalion's job to try and make sure the Germans didn't do that. And a good offense was a good defense. So they're going to be pushing through these two trenches to try and keep the Germans at bay. So even now today, if you go there, you can actually see this is now there's snow there, at least in this photo. But Rob, you can just see this trench right here. You see this little so that's the trench your grandfather would have been running up and down, delivering messages. Over here, he would have seen this. This is actually a German bunker. We believe it's a command post bunker. And you can just see the door right over there. And do you see how it's kind of sloped right up here? Like it's not a straight edge. Like it's not a right. It's sloped because it got hit by Canadian artillery shells. But none of those artillery shells could penetrate. But that's been there for 100 years. And that was there when your grandfather was there. So what you're seeing right now with the concrete there, Rob, is exactly what your grandfather saw during the Battle of Vimy Ridge, which also had snow and everything. And quite amazing, right? So
I just anyway, our son Owen, for the 100th anniversary, it was a high school trip.
Oh, yeah.
They went to Vimy Ridge, and they also went to Rome for their 2 weeks, but part of that trip was also to Vimy, and they went to the 100th anniversary celebration. Awesome.
Yeah, because they had like at the monument right here where you can kind of see from space a little bit. I think it was a huge commemorative event, right? They would have been there for, I think the Prime Minister came out. And he was there, and it was good weather too. It seemed pretty hot, hey? I've seen videos. I wasn't there myself, but yeah, that's awesome for him. But just to kind of go back here, what happens after Vimy Ridge? There's the Germans fall back and they pull back to the second line. That summer, what's going to happen is your grandfather was involved with a trench raid that happens right through here. And we won't go into it too much, just for time sort of thing. But there's another battle that takes place literally right here. And then after that, they're doing trench rotations again through what's known as Lens. So it's almost like street fighting. And they do that from kind of May of 1917 up until August. And in August, I think there's a few things that happen in August. One, there's some sporting events. We can actually see these are from August 17th, 1917. On the left, we see the battalion, so kind of within the unit itself. Then also you have your brigade sports. So these are the best in, across 4 different battalions, each comprising of about 800 guys. And what we can actually see right here is quite often we get the name of Miller. So we can see the 3-legged race. He did it with a guy named Mundy Wells, who's also in the runners, and then also Miller, and they came first place. We can also see that I think there's another mention of him further down. Tug of war, I don't think he was too much into that. But right here with the 440-yard dash, he comes second place.
Okay.
And then also for...
Miller's way down here. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
keep going down where you
Miller
are.
right here for the 1 mile.
Yeah.
And then I think there's also a Miller here but this is the one that really matters. This is brigade. So if you win here, you're kind of the best out of so many guys. Yeah, and he comes second. Okay, this is kind of fair. You see this 1 mile here?
Yeah.
So the guy who came first is actually an Olympian. So
really?
So okay, he came second. I kid you not, right? So yeah, his name is Alex Decoteau. He's quite famous if you Google him. Because he was Indigenous, and so he became the first Indigenous police constable in Canada. And then in 1912, he ran for Canada in the Olympics. And then you can see this is August of 1917. Well, 2 months later, we'll get into it, but you have the worst battle the 49th take part in insofar as casualties. And sadly, he's killed in that battle. So you kind of
I want to add something here that our daughter, who joined us, she was a pretty good runner in elementary school for track and field for the district.
Yeah. Wow.
And then our son Clayton also was, and he'll be 22 next month. But Heather was also a good runner in rugby in high school. She played rugby for a couple of years in high school.
Oh, yeah.
For that, yeah.
Awesome. Hey, well, I guess it runs in the genes. That makes sense, right? So, and I'm just noticing here, and I'm sure you guys would have picked up on it, but I think he's mentioned down here. I think I saw Miller again.
I did too.
Right up here, 4 mile cross country, number 1, which is cool. And he actually beat the Olympian.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, it looks like it. So good stuff. That's pretty darn good. So you guys got, I don't know. I think we can call him an Olympic athlete now.
Did I show you that? Did I show you that medal?
No, I don't. Which one?
Well, it says somewhere in France, divisional sports, something, somewhere in France, 1917.
Oh, no, I don't think so. If you send me a photo, I imagine it's probably from this one here. But you said it's divisional sports?
Well, I think that's what I can get it in like about less than a minute.
Yeah, if you want to look for it.
Let me grab it. I know exactly where it's at.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I was telling Rob earlier today that there's a medal that Rob's mom Sharon gave to her half brother.
Yeah.
And that went over to Ontario, and now that half brother has passed on, and his family has it. So I don't know what they're going to do with it. But I said, Rob, maybe you can try to get another one just like it, figure out which one was gone.
Yeah.
And get one just like it, and then the medals that we have, and then a picture of him in his uniform, then we can have it, framed up and put it on the wall.
Totally. Yeah. And
his medals and his picture.
Bonnie, if you could, and I don't know if you can, but if you can get a photograph of that medal and send it to me, for instance, I could try and see if we might even have a spare we could send you. Like, okay. I'm pretty darn sure we have some spare buttons, which I'll send to you guys for the uniform so you can restore that. But likewise with that medal, we might be able to find a spare or something like that, or be able to identify it.
Which medal?
Oh, the one that went to Ontario.
Yeah, I gotta email her.
Your cousin.
Oh, is that the pay book?
Yeah, that's the pay book.
That's awesome. If you open it up, can you see what date it starts from?
He signed it in.
It'll say this pay book opens from.
Move to another page.
Administration date 15/7/15. No.
Okay, no. Keep going. If you go kind of halfway through the book, you'll see when when he's getting paid, the dates. And I'm just wondering what the earliest entry is, because what you got there, Rob, it's actually quite cool. That pay book, that's also your military ID, and so by military law, you have to keep that on your breast pocket above your heart. So any of the battles we might be talking about, does it have a date there?
Yeah,
See.
book opens July the 1st, 1918.
Brilliant. Awesome. So what we got now is kind of a date. So that book would have been carried with him through what was known as the 100 Days Offensive. So
Okay,
you know how he gets a medal for bravery, the military medal, right?
right.
He would have actually had that on his person during that action.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is quite neat. So yeah, it's amazing to see. And what you got the medal there?
Yeah. It says, I'm going to read it here and then I'll show you.
Sure.
Somewhere in France, divisional sports, August 1917. So is that in August too?
Yeah, I imagine it's for this. What I'm curious. So they would have different. These are all August 1917. So that would be from this event.
Cross country run, second,
Oh yeah,
won by W.E. Miller, 49th.
there we go. I kind of question it though
Hold
because
that up
it's
there.
here
I
number
think
one, hey. But yeah, so it would be right here, the cross country 4 mile. That's awesome, hey.
And that's a 4-mile run.
Yeah,
There's the other side of it. I know you probably can't see it very good.
yeah. But if you could take photos later,
Yeah, I will.
That'd be
I
awesome.
thought I took all the pictures of all these things and sent them to you. Maybe you didn't get them.
I don't think I got them originally. So
Oh,
like
okay.
when Mike showed me the photo, the uniform, the medals, and the two photographs, the two postcards, that's the first I saw for your grandpa. So if you could retake them, that would be awesome. And then I
Yeah.
might be able to help contextualize some, perhaps, maybe not, but you know.
I will. I got a lot of stuff here. It's like a Gillette shaver box, you see?
Oh, neat, hey?
It's leather.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
That's
it's just
nice.
right full of stuff.
Wow. And that all belonged to your grandpa, right?
Yeah. Like
Is there
here's
anything else there?
well, that's like the 100.
Oh, neat.
Some
Yeah.
bones. Yeah, I got tons of stuff.
Oh,
I
wow.
got-
His cap license, yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, Mike got me some of this stuff at like the Calgary Gun Show and stuff.
Yeah.
Another one.
That's awesome, eh?
Here's the little
Yeah, the
Liber-
medallion.
ones.
And it's
Let me
funny because
see.
Rob, if you look at the medal, for some reason they screwed up the date, and the Belgians did. So it actually says the 11th of September. You see the Septembre?
Says Village de Mons, and it says Village de Mons or La Village de Mons.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says 11 of the 9th,
Yeah.
1918.
Because it should say the 11th, right? It's kind of funny, but yeah. But you know, once again, that medal apparently meant a heck of a lot to the guys. And later on, they're going to get medals, right? But they said, you know, it's just cheap. But the fact of the matter, because they had actually been to Mons and they had seen, you know, what the Germans did to it, and they had deported all these guys to German work camps and that sort of thing. So the fact of the matter that they could produce such a medal and send it out to them as an appreciation, as a thank you, was unrecognized. Like no other place had done that, you know. So and to watch them.
Well, it says, man, I'm looking for you found it. Good thing. I'm gonna be like, okay, so it says, well, some of it's in French, right?
Yeah, it should be. I think it's à la vie de Mons, like from I'm trying to remember.
Soldats, AUX, and then soldats, whatever the heck.
Yeah, to soldiers.
Okay, and it looks like Della, and then it says third.
Yeah,
it must be third division Canadian. 11, 9, and then it says does it say PRE, RRE, or PRE 1918?
Yeah, EME, I think. So I just pulled up a photo online. Yeah, it says the city of Mons to the soldiers of the 3rd Canadian Division on the 11th of September 1918. But obviously they meant 11th of November.
Okay.
Someone screwed it up, right?
Okay.
But it's funny, all of them are like that with the little sort of typo. So I don't know.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's just funny how it goes, right? So yeah. But anywho, that's super cool though. That, you know, and here's obviously the date that he got it, August 11th, 1917. So just after that day, and as you know, he and it's not mentioned in his record or anything, but just based off this photo, we know that he went with Orville Palmer all the way down to Nice.
Yeah.
And I should send you the write up that Orville Palmer wrote about his experience down there. It sounds really cool. Like there was a bunch of stuff they illegally crossed over to Italy one day.
Oh, really?
They bribed the guard and that sort of thing. They also rented a taxi, and you can see all the hills up here. Apparently, way in some of the hills is there's a perfumery shop, and so they wanted to go check it out. It was just a little attraction. And so as they're moving up on this thing on this taxi cab, and obviously the cars back then were sort of fancy.
Yeah.
Usually it was just reserved for high class people, and they were wearing British uniforms all the way in the south of France. They had eventually come up and they nearly hit a column of I think he calls it Moldovan infantry marching down the mountain. And the Moldovans had never seen a British uniform before and seen them on a car. They thought they were generals.
Oh,
and so
really?
these meager privates got this full salute from all the guys and everything like that. Yeah, kidding not, right? So, yeah, but I'll send you the whole write-up that Orville did. It's quite neat. They were down here for about, I think I might lose you guys. Is it okay? You can hear me?
I'm good. I'm looking through the stuff to show you different things here.
Oh, great. But and so they were down there for 10 days and they had actually overstayed their leave. And then when they got back up in kind of early September, the regimental sergeant major just kind of scoffed at them and said, it's been a while since I saw you. Because once again, they were technically being AWOL. But because they were all good record soldiers, they said it's okay and that sort of thing. But if you look at your grandpa here, hey, he's you can see he's definitely an athlete, right?
Yeah.
Big guns, and once again, he's about 24 now. So
I got this.
Looks like a gold medal. Oh, it's a running medal, hey?
Yeah, and then it says, I don't know if you can see that very good, but I'll take a picture of it better. It says W.E. Miller. I don't know anything about this.
No date, hey?
10 karat gold, W.E. Miller.
Interesting.
Three runners running on there. Where's the camera that's taking a picture of this? Is it just up here or what? No, I guess.
Yeah, I can see it if you lift it a little bit higher. Yeah. No, I can see. I've not seen that one before either. I don't think it's a three-legged race, hey? No, it wouldn't be.
No, it's just three runners running.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder. Well, let's go back here. Because over here, what did he win first? Because that seems like what I want to pull up here after. I just got the records for the battalion and the brigade. Beyond that, you have a divisional level, and that's huge. You have about 15,000 guys in there. And I imagine if he won one of those races, I didn't pull up the record, so I'll do a follow-up and I'll send you that. And I imagine if he came first, he would probably get something like that, right? That's
this is?
Let me take a look. Yeah, I know exactly what that is. We'll come back to that.
That one's a Legion one.
Yeah, Legion. So, but Bob, Rob, the one you showed me right before with the Union Jack, just put that off to the side right now, and then at the end of the presentation, we'll come back to that. There's a reason for it. That's awesome. Anything else, or that's about?
Well, I don't know. I got a lot of. There's. I don't know if there's some coins. No, I think that maybe some kind of Spanish thing. Oh, that's 1944. I don't know much about that. Yeah, I don't think so. I'm done yapping.
Oh, good. But even if you just send a photo later or whatever, that'd be awesome, right? So, brilliant. Anyway, so when he eventually comes back to, he leaves the French Riviera, he comes back, and lo and behold, the front line is still more or less the same. So this is now about a year after he had first come across the Channel Port from Folkestone, and he comes back to around the Vimy area, but he's not there for long, because since that summer, what the British were trying to do is trying to break out of this Ypres salient from Bruges, which is now quite popular to go to for tourists and all that.
Okay.
You can see this canal. There's a little canal that goes out to the Belgian coast.
Yeah.
And this is actually their German U-boat base. And so these U-boats are, cutting down all this Allied shipping. Apparently they're starving the British. And so they want to do this big offensive and try and capture Bruges. The only problem is they shell the hell out of the whole landscape. And so it doesn't just destroy the German defenses or somewhat. It also destroys all the drainage ditches. And it just so happens that summer is the wettest summer on record. And so quickly it turns it all into a sea of mud. And so the main objective is to get all the way to the coast, but the subsidiary objective is to get to a village right about here known as Passchendaele. And
Oh,
so,
okay, yeah.
and so similar to the British during the Somme battle the year before, they're first going to start with just British troops, and then when things start going wrong, they're going to start calling on colonial troops or empire troops. And so initially they call on the New Zealanders and the South Africans, and then later the Australians. And when none of those guys can get the objective of Passchendaele, the last one they call in are the Canadians in October. And once again, now this is kind of autumn, so the rains just get heavier. The shelling continues, and it's been going on for months. So the drainage is terrible. And so you can just imagine with the flooding. Orville Palmer in his memoir, and once again, he was right beside Billy Miller through this move, and he was on that leave with him. And he had also served in the Ypres salient in 1916. And Orville said that when they came up to Ypres the following year, there was hardly anything you could recognize. There was no buildings still standing. This was at one time there was a big church back here, a big cathedral, and this was they call it the Cloth Hall, huge structure. And you can see it's almost like I don't know, a skeletal remains almost of buildings. And you can see all these soldiers marching through that square, and they're marching to the battlefront. And so it's down this exact road, somewhere in this column, that your grandfather would have been as they move forward towards Passchendaele. What we got here, this doesn't look like much, but this is where your grandpa spent most of his time at Passchendaele. I'll show you why. So just notice the little road up here. You see how the road bends and everything like this. What we're actually looking at, this was known as Waterloo Farm. When your grandpa was there was hardly anything left. It was just this bunker, and you can see all the devastation to it. And then up here, do you see the high ground about, I don't know, 700 yards away? That was the Bellevue Spur. That's the German front line. And from here, this is, and you can actually still see some crosses and what have you. This served as both a headquarters, this pillbox, and also a hospital. And it's here that the runners of the 49th Battalion are attached during the Battle of Passchendaele, because they're meant to be delivering messages to and fro the front line and headquarters.
Oh, wow.
And so if we look right here from an aerial view, we were just looking, that photo was taken down here. And so, and you can see where the hospital is and so on and so forth, that road. And as I pointed out, here's the Canadian front line in the end of October. And the 49th Battalion are meant to do an attack and try and push up to more or less the top of this screen up here. There's going to be other guys on either flank, but the 49th Battalion have about 600 men. They put 500 in the front line. They leave another about 100 guys who are with the headquarters, including your grandpa, Billy, back here at Waterloo Farm in support, so that if they need to, they can move them up within an hour or two, and they can be at the front line. But that morning on the 30th October, the whistles blow, and of those 500 guys that go over the top, they're able to advance all the way up here, get about 300 yards, and there's only about 50 guys left standing.
Oh, wow.
And so just to put this in perspective, it's not just, it's not just guys who are killed, but there's also a lot of guys who are wounded. And when you look at what the conditions look like from the air, it's quite abysmal. And then it only gets worse when we look a bit closer. You can see once again all the shell holes. This was in September, these aerials. This was a dry month. And then by the time your grandpa got to that battlefield, it was terrible. But you can see all the different bodies that were spread out. Your grandfather was later sent up there to go figure out how far the front line had advanced, to go back and forth from, you can see right here, there's some pillboxes down here.
Okay.
These are advanced battalion headquarters. And from there, he would get the situation report. So he was making his way back and forth through that mud, up that hill. And he had to be on these little duck boards, because if you got off the duck boards, you might fall in that mud.
Right.
And if you fall in that mud, then, with all the equipment, you're probably gone. So there was one story I heard from one of those veteran interviews, and it was from a guy named Albert Falley, who was an Irishman in the 49th Battalion, and he was in this little pillbox right here. And he was talking to a guy named Bobby Henderson, who was actually also from Peace River country, and really? Bobby was a scout. And so as a scout, he had to try and get intelligence about how the guys up here were doing. And so as he crossed over this battlefield, crawling on his belly and being careful not to fall in, you'd get these screams of guys asking for help because they were falling into the mud and they were drowning, and but there was nothing he could do. So it's just crazy. But that's the sort of stuff that that he's coming across. But once again, when we look at it overall, your grandpa, luckily he wasn't part of that, the majority of the unit, because he was a runner. He was left out of the frontal assault waves, and even if he got, let's say, he went over the top and he got wounded, lots of the wounded couldn't get out. There's one guy who talked about he was a big fellow and he got wounded up here. He was a machine gunner, and eventually they found him. An artillery shell had landed in the shell hole he was with his machine gun, and it had blown off both legs. And he was a big fellow. It took 6 members from the battalion band to bring him out on a stretcher all the way from up here back to Waterloo Farm, where he could then get evacuated. And how they did it in that mud was they would have 4 guys carrying the stretcher, and then 2 kind of hanging out at the back, like taking a rest. And they would go 15 yards and then have to drop the stretcher. And then the 2 in the front would go to the back. And then the relief would come in, and then they would bring them further back, and they would keep rotating this until they got about a mile or a mile and a half back to the dressing station. So that's the sort of thing that they're coming against, right? And I'm just so thankful that I say frankly that your grandfather wasn't in that attack, because once again it was the darkest day for the 49th Battalion. But nonetheless, a lot of his comrades would have fallen that day. Those guys he went to the beach with, I'm not sure the names of them except for Orville and your grandfather, but you could wonder if one of those names are right here. And what Orville talks about was that the night before, they actually got sent up, the runners, to go survey the ground, and make sure it's good enough ready for the attack. And it was just confusion. There was no real front line between the Germans or the Canadians. He talks about finding a pillbox and calling out, "Hello, anyone in there?" And then the response was in German. And so later they come in and they try and figure out what's going on. They bring in more reinforcements. Turns out it's 2 dying German soldiers who've been there for 3 days. Just got left behind. Yeah. So it's you go.
All these names.
Yeah.
Is that like in all the little spots? Is that where they found those guys dead?
Exactly. Either found the body, or if you see some where it's just numerals, these are when they find an unknown body of the 49th Battalion. And likewise, there's sometimes where they are reported missing there, and still don't know what happened to their body. Yeah, but a huge amount, right? So but yeah, so all that to be said, your grandfather survived. Later on, there's Orville Palmer talks about at Waterloo Farm. There's actually some mustard gas used. Really report themselves to the doctor because there were so many badly wounded. So, but that's possible that your grandfather got mustard gas. Unless he talked about it, we won't really know.
No, he did talk about it. He did get gas somewhere.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So this is likely where it happened. There's a few other places, and I'll mention right after this that it could have happened as well. So all that to be said, they never got out to Bruges. They eventually come here and at Passchendaele. And but around that time, end of 1917, end of 1918, there's something big happening well far away in Russia. Russia's leaving the war, and they don't want anything else to do with it, and that sort of thing. But the German army had a bunch to do with the fighting on the Eastern Front. In fact, they had about 100 divisions, so thousands and thousands of men fighting in the East. So as soon as Russia left, they thought, okay, we're going to launch this big offensive on the Western Front and try and end the war before the Americans arrive in force, because America had just joined the war. And with their, industrial might, that was a big worry for them. And so what's going to happen is they're going to launch a big offensive. And they're going to recapture all the ground. They recapture Passchendaele village. They push the front line around Ypres, and it's almost surrounded. Further to the south, the same battlefield that your grandfather was nearly killed at on the Somme by that artillery shell. That's recaptured by the Germans. And what they're trying to get to are the major railway junctions to try and cut off all the supply lines. It's kind of surprising. The one place they don't attack, you might notice right here, Vimy. And that's where your grandfather and the rest of the Canadian Corps are. And so when they're positioned there, they're being stretched thin, because further to the north, there's tons of losses. So there's more and more units who are being sent from the front line to go reinforce, and same to the south. And so more and more, the 49th Battalion has to take on a wider stretch of ground, and they have less guys to do it. Normally, we'd mentioned at the start that your trench rotation would be a week in the front line, a week in reserve, and then a week out at rest. What's going to happen, they call it the long trip. And so in March of 1918, your grandfather goes into the front line, and he doesn't realize that this big offensive is going to happen. And what he also doesn't realize is it's going to be another 58 days before he actually gets out at rest.
Oh, wow.
58 consecutive days in springtime. So it's still cold, rainy, so on and so forth. There's no battle that really comes to them. There's no major German attack, but there's this huge fear that they're basically being surrounded. And there's this other fear that they're never going to get out of the trench, because once again, a week goes by, 2 weeks goes by, 3 weeks goes by, and it's 58 days before they go out and rest. During that time, there's quite a few close shaves. This is from the diary of Orville Palmer right here.
That's him, yeah.
So this is about a week into that long trip. Miller and I had a run up to the Canadian Engineers this afternoon. We had a kind of narrow shave on the way back. The trench we had to come in was being shelled, and trench mortars of the Minimwerfer variety, which is a small type, were traversing that particular line. The gods were with us, for we never ran into anything. So it's quite amazing to imagine that they're going through this trench. Once again, they're runners, so they have to go back and forth. And it's similar to what I was saying on Vimy Ridge with those trench mortars coming down. Wrong place, wrong time, you're gone. And this is only a week in, and this is just a regular sort of day for them, right? But yeah, so it's quite amazing. But that's Orville Palmer there. You can see right here, these are the actual trenches they're holding.
Okay.
And this is only about 3 kilometers north of Vimy. So if you follow this road down, you go right to Vimy Ridge. It's a tough thing, because just to the north of them, you have other Canadians, but a bit further north, I don't know, about 3 miles away, you have new troops that come in. They're the Portuguese, and these Portuguese, their first time in the trenches. And so initially the Canadians are like, great, I'm sure they're ready to fight, ready to help us out. But as soon as those Germans attack their positions, they get up and run. And so it gives the 49th Battalion and your grandpa and all the other guys, bad taste for the Portuguese, and also makes their job harder, because now they have to take on even more ground. And they don't want the Germans to realize how thinly held the ground is. So they end up dominating no man's land as the strategy. So every night they're going out into no man's land, and they're right up close to the German trenches. There's quite a few raids that happen. So they go into the German trench and do as much damage, and then come out about 60 minutes later. And so they're being extremely aggressive despite having low numbers. The other thing too, I've got this diary which belonged to a 49er who was in the trenches here. Yeah. And if you look at his record, it says that he got through the war without a wound. When you look at what he actually went through by reading the diary, along with that trench raid, just being in the trenches, he was buried alive twice. He was also mustard gas, but every time he reported to the doctor said, you can still stand on your own feet. You got to come right back to the front line. We can't afford to lose guys. So this is another place, this sector of trenches right here, that your grandpa might have been mustard gassed in as well. It's hard to know for sure. But anyway, eventually that 2 months goes by, and it goes by faster than, I don't know, we spent 5 minutes talking about it. And they get pulled back to this small place. This is called Fokenham here. This whole town, all the little houses that you can see here, all became billets for the 49th Battalion. So you're based here for about a month in 1918. Just up here, if we could see, you just walk down this road, and then this is a new village called Lillers. Nowadays, it's kind of connected. You got houses connecting them. But at the time, there's just open fields between the two, so they were a bit more separate. And your grandpa, it was the end of May 1918, him and all the other runners, they walked down this road, then came up here to the T, they turned right, then they turned left. And do you see this little courtyard here?
Yeah.
This is now a little school ground. But your grandpa went into that courtyard, and there was a French lady who ran a photo studio. She had a nice camera. And so they all chipped in. Everyone chipped in, and they got their photo taken.
Oh, really?
How do you know this stuff?
Well, you just got to
detail.
Well, part of it was thanks to Orville. He wrote about it in his diary. So it's just all these sources coming together. And then I actually went over to France, and I tried to figure out where it was. So I went to this town. And I kid you not, guys, I knocked on every possible door. Like I went here. Do you see? I thought, oh, that could be the courtyard. So I knocked on the door, didn't match. I went up here too, and it didn't match there. And then it wasn't until we went here to this is actually the mayor's office. Then I knocked and I said, I'm really stumped with this. Do you recognize the photo at all? And then the mayor said, I think that's right behind us. So then we went there, and then it was a perfect match. So
Okay.
so it's quite amazing, right? The other nice thing too by this photo here is if we look at the back of it, they're all identified. And so we can see, officially Orville's name is H.O. Palmer, but he always went by Orville. So we have Lamb, Fuchs, Wells. Wells did a bunch of the runs with Billy Miller on the sports competition.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we also have Jay Farrell. He was known as Goldie, and his diary actually survived. I think the family still has it, but I think we have a transcription, so I should send that to you guys as well. Because once again, the experiences of Goldie and Orville would have been ubiquitous with Billy, right, when he was overseas. So
that's cool.
But anyway, quite a neat shot. So this is Billy and all his friends. And what's kind of neat about it too, do you guys see this strap which is over their shoulder?
Yeah.
Anyone want to guess what that strap is for? Any wild guesses? I'll give you a hint.
I thought it was like a haversack or something, no?
Yeah, exactly. A haversack, but instead of just carrying your gear around, they are still close enough to the front line that gas, whether it's chlorine gas or mustard gas, might hit them.
It's a gas mask.
And so at all times, you have to carry around a gas mask.
Oh.
Isn't that crazy? So even now, they're just taking a photo, but in the next moment, there might be a gas shell that comes in and gets them. The other thing I want you guys to take a close look at is if we can't really see, Billy is back row, so we can't see him too well. But if we look up here, like at Goldie over here, Goldie Fairholm, see he has a little armband.
Yeah.
Exactly like your grandpa's.
Yeah.
And same up here, we got they wore armbands a bit different. Like this looks like it goes around the whole arm. But so all the runners, once again, they have that red armband. And so we can see that right there. So
that goes around the whole arm, doesn't it, Bonnie?
Normally they didn't, but you never know. Like if you look,
it goes from seam to seam. See
that? Yeah.
And then it goes over here to the seam.
Oh wait, so I'm just looking at the photo now. Can you show me the seam again?
Oh, just okay here. Like it goes from the seam.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And over here to the seam again.
And tell me, it's sewn on, right? It's not affixed.
Yeah, it's all sewn on.
Yeah. Yeah, that's special. So that uniform, by the way, while we're talking about it, that uniform. Actually, can you guys open it up? Are the buttons done up or no?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you open up the buttons? I just want to see the inside, and there's a pocket there, and the reason for it, because I can kind of date the uniform just by the insignia right now, but I just want to make sure. Now, Rob, when you look at it, there's a pocket on the bottom over on the side you're looking at, right at the corner, beneath, to the left of that. Yeah, there. Is that open or is that closed? Can you put your hand in that?
No, it's just sewn. It's sewn.
It's sewn shut. Okay. So what this is, guys, that the jacket you have, one, it's phenomenal. For the uniforms to 49ers are really rare because a lot of them wore them on the farm after the war and that sort of thing. If you look inside, guys, it looks pretty clean, I imagine. Hey, like it doesn't have too much staining or sweat or anything like that.
The pockets are stained.
Okay. Is it black staining or?
That's the thing for here.
Yeah. So what I can just inferring with the uniform, because I think if we look at the patch on the top, it says Canada in red on above that.
Above what? Sorry.
You got the formation patch with the kind of the two squares, and then there's Canada. Does it say Canada?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Honestly, that's just awesome. You guys have that. It's just amazing.
And it's got this too.
Yeah. So that would be the ribbon for his military medal, probably.
Yeah.
And in this pocket, oh, maybe that's what I'm feeling.
No, you did. So maybe there is a button in there. See, this guy's sending me some buttons.
Oh yeah.
Button in the pocket.
Oh, check.
Yeah. Is that one of the big buttons? It's a little buggered up,
yeah.
But
but that would work for the chest. And it says, and I think it looked like, Rob, just to make sure, it says Edmonton Regiment on the sides, right? That button that you have?
On the side of the button?
Yeah, because I just want that. If it does, it's the First World War variant. If it doesn't, it's the Second World War. It should say
Yeah,
Edmonton
it says,
Regiment.
whoops.
Perfect. Yeah. So
It says Edmonton Regiment.
if you need to sew it onto your, like, if you sew that onto the uniform, it's perfect. You know, like that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. So that jacket you guys have, though, it's not the same one as in the photo here, unfortunately. What often happened when they were in the trenches and so on and so forth, there was so much lice, mud, blood, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Some of them were issued jackets to come home with.
Oh, I see.
The reason why I asked you to look at that pocket in the insignia, the bottom there, that was known as a shell dressing pocket. So it was issued to guys closed, but the idea is that, you know, if you're wearing it in the front line in the trenches or whatever it may be, you would open that up to put your shell dress in your first aid kit. And you wouldn't carry it for your friend or anything like that. You were carrying it for yourself. So if you became wounded or something like that, your buddy would know they can open that up and they could and they would have a first aid kit for you. The other thing too, which suggests it's kind of homecoming, if you will, it was probably issued to him in England in early 1919, is that those Canada titles up there, they were authorized in, I think it was October 1918. So they came in right at the end, right? But nonetheless, it's still a super artifact, right? That he wore. But it would have been a different uniform to the one we see him wearing right here. But yeah, still
is this a 5-button?
Yeah, he has a
6-button.
Yeah. So the other, like the one with more buttons was the Canadian made one. And normally if you were wearing Canadian made bits and bobs, whether it's equipment or uniform, it made you look like a rookie soldier because it meant you just got off the training grounds in Canada. That's where you're issued Canadian stuff. So that's why we have the 5-button British. Yeah. And anyway, but yeah, it's just still really quite spectacular. And I think I mentioned, Rob, on the phone call, but in my kind of experience with 49th Battalion, I track this with different families, different museums across the world, actually.
Okay.
There's only about a dozen 49th Battalion uniforms known in existence that are left that I know of. There's one other in a family. And I think our regimental museum we have 9 or 8, depends how you count. And then there's also one in Montreal at another museum. Yeah, so it's very slim. Yeah. So all that to be said, it's an amazing artifact because once again, a lot of families, they might not be interested, so they'll throw it out. Sometimes the veterans don't want to keep it because if you wore it a month after you were discharged, it was actually impersonating a kind of a military soldier because the guys were still wearing that same uniform. So it was illegal. So a lot of guys had no purpose. They just got rid of it. Right. So, but the fact your family still has it is remarkable. And especially it's your uniform, by the way, is the only 49th Battalion uniform I've ever seen with an armband.
Oh, is that right?
It's even more special. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, but really, really quite remarkable. So when Mike showed me the photos, holy cow, that's unreal. So, but anyway, I digress. So, but anyway, you guys will have this, all this here, so you can get the names of the different guys in the same section. The other funny thing is where they were based right here in Fokenham. Can you guys see this place? You got Equidec, and I don't know how you properly pronounce that, but this town ended up being the headquarters for the Portuguese.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so there's a funny story that Orville Palmer talks about where him and some other runners, and it's very plausible that Billy was on the mission, were sent to the town over here called Lillers. And because they were on active service, even though the Portuguese had closed down this town, they should have been allowed to go through here. And so we're able to come through on the way in. But once the Portuguese authorities realized some Canadian troops who should have been there kind of got through, they were ready for them when they started coming back. And so once Billy was there. Once they got to around downtown here, right next to a church, the Portuguese tried to arrest them. And the Canadians, who only a few months before were in the front line, and they had heard that the Portuguese just got up and ran when the Germans attacked. Excuse my French, but they said, fuck you. And
you kind of glitched.
Oh, am I okay? Am I better?
Yeah, the Canadians just a few months before.
Yeah, the Canadians a few months more were all ticked off about these Portuguese because they got up and ran when the Germans attacked. And so when they tried to arrest these 49ers, they just said F you. Yeah. And so then all of a sudden the the Portuguese once again tried to arrest them, and when the Canadians wouldn't let them arrest them, they started shooting at them. So they broke up into pairs, and then they came across country. The auto road didn't exist, and they got back to their base. And when they got back, about an hour or two later, off comes a Portuguese brigade major, and he marches down this road, and he wants to go speak to the commanding officer, and he wants to list the names of all the guys that went on that mission. And the commanding officer responded saying, I have no idea about I have no idea about that mission, and you better keep forward and fighting the enemy, or something like that. And so all that to be said, he turned a blind eye, and the Portuguese brigade major came away steaming mad because, it was just another insult to injury. And he basically got an FU from the commanding officer as well. So, but it's funny stuff like that. I went to after I went to that photo studio there, I rode my bicycle up to Equebec, and I went to the actual place that the Portuguese tried to arrest them. And what's fascinating about it, this was never ever a battlefield, and the French are really strict with gun laws. But if you go to that church, you'll actually see ballistic damage, presumably from the time the Portuguese were there trying to shoot. Once again, perhaps your grandpa and Orville and some of the other guys, right? So,
oh, really?
Yeah, I kid you not, right? So even after all these years, you can still.
Here's a picture I got.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Is that the same? Oh, is that of Orville?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy cow! I've never seen that one before. Wow. Yeah. That's amazing.
It doesn't say nothing on the back.
Photo?
Pardon me?
Would you be able to later take a photo and send it to me, and I'll share it with the family?
Yep.
That's awesome. That's Billy there, hey?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay.
I'll read. The French photo something, it's stamped, eh? So, but the guy didn't do a very good stamp, but it says something which might be, it almost looks like a B. Would it be February 5th, 1918?
5th, 1980. Oh, that would make sense, because Orville and Billy, I think, went off to leave at the same time to England. And then what had happened, they had missed their ship in February of 1918. So they were stuck around France for another night. And I think, if I remember right, it was right around that time, February 15th. So it's possible that was taken to Le Havre, and they're like, what do we do? We'll get our photos taken.
And what does that say?
It says 37
it's handwritten.
Crafton Street, Dublin. And it says, a snap I had taken in Ireland. Not good, but looks like me. What does that word say? Looks like me. Oh, maybe that says love, Billy.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
that was February 15th, hey?
Yeah, see? I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, I see what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, it says Dublin, and then the little deal down below, but it doesn't really. That's not a very good.
Okay, then I was perhaps mistaken there.
Did you see this picture?
What's it?
Oh, I'm screwing you up. Sorry.
No, I don't. Those look like Germans, hey?
They are Germans. They took them. They took them as prisoners, and then they took them to this photo place.
Oh, really?
Apparently, the young guy thought they were going to kill them, but they didn't. They just took photos.
What's it say in the back?
Some kids written on here. It says 14-year-old boy taken prisoner, German soldiers, blah. That's some. And then there's a thing here. This guy's named Sergeant Bast. And I always wondered if this guy got killed or if he lived through the war.
If you could send me some kind of close-up photos of the photo, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it says W.E. Miller and Sergeant Bast.
B-A-S-T, eh? Let me check if he was I'll check if he was a 49er right now. No, we only had a guy named Bastable.
Yeah, no, this guy's got of course, Billy. Now, which arm is that? It's the left arm. So the left arm. Yeah, he doesn't got a band there.
Check down below. Sometimes they wore it down below. Like around the cuff. Is it there? Or no?
Well, it just kind of looks like just a normal cuff. And then there's a V there.
Upside down.
See the V on his
No, I can't quite see it just by the photos here. But when you send me the photo, I'll be able to see in detail. And also sometimes just based off of the insignia, it can help date the photograph. Like they,
Yeah.
they like I mentioned, they like those Canada titles coming in right at the end of the war.
Well,
But
this is a 5-button uniform too.
yeah, like I think they both like you can if you check the back, does it say carte postale, like French for postcard?
Nothing.
Nothing, hey?
See,
Yeah.
it says photography, well, Parisine or whatever the heck that is. 34 bold something Bethune, something like that.
Oh, Bethune.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bethune.
Ah,
Bethune.
so Bethune is right next door to where all like what I'm talking about right now.
Okay.
That was walking
pretty rough
distance
looking.
away. That's interesting, but oh, that's cool.
I think my
Yeah.
mom, I'm not sure if she's got that
Awesome.
jersey or if it's a Montreal Canadiens jersey. My mom's got,
really?
it's wool.
There's that same
That's
picture.
same picture you had.
Wow, and you guys got that same picture too, hey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I kind of think we've got that picture in like an actual picture. Here's a
Who's this? This is.
well, that's old Mrs. Miller. That's his mother. See here, I don't know if you can see this.
That's his mom.
Oh yeah, I see. Okay.
Is there a glare?
No, not really. I can see good enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
See this old guy?
I'm just trying to see if there's a way I can oh here, if I put this to for myself only. So if I put this okay. Oh yeah, who's that guy? Is that Billy too?
No, that's Billy Miller's dad, and he was in the war
Really?
too.
Yeah, it looks like it, eh? Full uniform.
He was in some kind of a thing, I think, where they like drove mules up and horses and taking stuff to the front, maybe like bombs.
Really?
And
Well, I'll look him up. What was his name? What's his first name?
well, he's just Robert Miller.
Robert Miller, hey?
I think I do have.
It's a photocopy picture.
He's wearing a 6-button uniform.
Mm. Yeah, because there's still quite a few Robert Millers. I'm just gonna. You don't have a date of birth, eh? By chance, I doubt it.
I gotta look through my stuff because I do got some stuff on that guy.
Yeah, I mean, if you do, I'm just checking too. I want to see because sometimes they sign up in the same unit. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know if he was or not, but maybe.
No, I don't think he. Oh, maybe there was a Walter Robert Miller. That wouldn't be him, hey? I'm just checking. He was born in New Zealand. I doubt it.
No, I doubt it.
Yeah, doubt it.
This guy was from Navan, Ontario.
Yeah.
They had a farm there.
Yeah, because Billy was even born there, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Because even, let me look here.
Where did he come from before Ontario?
See, you're supposed to give father was R. Miller. It says father Snake Creek, Quebec, Canada.
Oh yeah.
And Mrs. Robert Miller, mother Snake Creek, Canada, blah blah. If your name wasn't Robert or William, or Bill, we didn't want anything to do with you.
Oh really? That's how it goes. Eh? Yeah. It's funny how it goes. Passes through the family, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, 66th Battalion, Regional Unit, Regimental Depot, Bratshot.
Yeah. Or Bramshot, I think. Yeah, which is just south.
Bratshot, 21st Alberta Regiment, Reserve Unit, 21st Alberta Regiment.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. So that's kind of if you were transferred to England, let's say you were wounded or whatever after you convalesced from hospital.
Right.
That's where they group up all the different Alberta battalions. There were 4 on the front line. And so it's just kind of, similar. If there's another need for reinforcements, then they'll pick guys from that reserve battalion. So that's super neat. You got it. So there's a neat connection there too. If you open up, I want to say to the front of that book, Rob, there's going to be an order which says keep your mouth shut. Do you see that? Does that show up? It won't be really a page. It's usually right at the bang spank in the middle. But the long story short, yeah, it was normally stamped right kind of. I don't know how you say it. It's like an extra page sort of glued into the front of the pay book, almost to the cover. Yours might have it or it might not. It might have lost it. But what had happened when they were based here, like in this part of France, they were doing a bunch of training because they were going to launch a counteroffensive against the Germans.
Yeah.
And the main thing was the Germans recognized that wherever the Canadians were going to be, that's where the offensive would happen. And so they made it a big thing that all the Allied soldiers or the Canadian soldiers had to keep their mouths shut about where they were or what they were about to do. Because in these fields around this village, your grandpa and all the other guys were doing all sorts of different training, not only firing rifle and stuff like that, but also doing maneuvers with live ammunition and tanks and so on and so forth.
Really?
Yeah, such that by, on the 8th of August, what happens, they launched this new attack way down south at a place called Amiens.
Okay.
And they get a whole breakthrough. But up to that point, all the Canadians even thought they were moving north, back up to Flanders, back up to Passchendaele. And that's where they're going to do the offensive. And they had fooled also the Germans. So when they eventually hopped on their trains and started heading south instead of north, they thought, what the heck's going on? And then eventually they get into these woods and they launch this attack. It's a huge, big success. And then that's the start of what's known as the 100 Days Offensive. But in each of those pay books, which were carried with them at the time, they stamped those orders, keep your mouth shut into them. So once again, flick through later, it might be in a different spot. It's possible, right? But and then also before I keep going to, I just want to mention, I was just looking here. Look, this is from June 15th, 1918. They had a sporting event up here at St. Hilaire in St. Hilaire Cote. And then it looks like Private Miller got 3rd place in the 1 mile run again.
Oh, wow.
And then on the 3 mile run, it looks like he came 2nd. And I don't know if he shows up anymore. But once again, still absolutely, track star sort of stuff, right?
It talks about telling like the military will and civil will.
Civil will.
You're supposed to write out your will.
Yeah.
And he says, does not wish to make a will.
No, I bet really? That's not him. That's probably somebody else writing it in, right?
That's funny.
I might have said that.
Well, Bonnie and Rob, I've never ever seen that before. It's too funny.
And on towards the back, is some of the medals that he received.
Wow, that's cool. So, do you see that ink though? It's kind of a weird. Do you see the purple color?
Yes. Yeah.
That's called an indelible pencil. That's the actual pencil the soldiers were issued in the trenches. Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, to see. The idea was you could write on wet paper and stuff. But yes, that military medal. What's special about that military medal? I'll just kind of quickly go through. So summer 1918, what's happening? This is kind of still the front line. The Allies want to push to capture this place called Cambrai. They're going to send the Canadians to do so. Because if you capture Cambrai, it's a big railway junction.
Oh, yeah.
And you cut off all the German supply line, and then you break it up, and you can finally get a breakthrough through the stagnation. And then what's going to happen is to get there, you have to go through all these different German defense lines. And so it's a huge battle for the Canadians. For the 49th and your grandpa there, and this is where he gets that medal for bravery, it's going to happen right here at Pelves, just up on the north. And I got a little map here. He was part of the headquarters. And so with being a runner, he would be going back and forth between, wherever the advanced headquarters was and kind of the battlefront. What had happened here is everything went like clockwork. So these guys advanced through this trench system. Once D Company got here, they sent up signal flares, and there was a frontal assault against this village called Pelves, and they found hardly to no German resistance, and so they captured the village. And that's where headquarters was, and that's where your grandpa came in. Your grandpa at the time was based right up here by this river. Across the, what's that?
Yeah.
And then across the river, what he would have seen, and actually it's the river's up here, he would have seen all these Highlanders advancing, and they're guys from the crack 51st Highland Division, another elite group of guys. And then meanwhile, they're consolidating, they're kind of almost celebrating. They were thinking, this is too easy. And then you had one of the officers there, and he realized that there's still some of the German trenches that haven't been captured. And behind these trenches is a big valley. And come to find out, the Germans were massing in this valley to come into this trench and launch a big counterattack against them.
Oh, wow.
And so what's going to happen is some of the guys from the C Company are going to come down here. And I think I have a photo of that. So this photo was taken right here. Do you see my little blue cursor?
Yeah.
And this photo is looking down this way towards where it says MG.
Okay.
Now, when they got to this section, usually there's a trench you can come through. This was left intentionally. There was no entrenchment here. So between here and the road, and the trench went through where the houses are now. This was deliberately done by the Germans because right back there, right where that farm building is, they positioned a machine gun. And that machine gun's going to cut off any Canadian troops trying to push in and kind of get forward. And so what's going to happen is that eventually some of the Canadian troops are going to get forward, and there's going to be a heck of a lot of fighting. Apparently, they have to fight for every inch of this land, and they need some way to get in touch with headquarters back in the village about what's actually going on in this trench system. You don't have a cell phone, you don't have carrier pigeons, you don't have anything. All you have are runners. And so that military medal, which Bonnie, you just pointed out being listed in that book there, what had happened was during that attack, when they had to get information back about what's going on, and it was absolutely deadly in here. There were literally guys getting killed trying to push through this trench system. They needed more ammunition. They needed more men, whatever message it may be. Billy would have been running back and forth through this trench, through this gauntlet, multiple times, nearly getting killed by the machine gun fire from that machine gun, running to and fro from here to get to the headquarters and get whatever they might need to get forward. And so after the battle, when they finally got relieved and the village was captured, thank God with almost no casualties, thanks to his bravery, he got that medal for bravery. And what's special about our unit is someone after the war kept track of the citations. And I think I sent this to you guys a while ago, or I shared it with Mike, and I think Mike might have shared it with you guys.
Yeah, he showed me this.
Yeah, like this is only half of it, and this is from our museum. So there's about 400 pages of these citations for bravery. But all that to be said, if he was with any other Canadian unit, it's almost next to no chance this citation would have been preserved. But through this citation, we know kind of what happened. So it says, this man, while acting as a runner, showed throughout an entire fearlessness under the heaviest fire, once again for that machine gun, and never failed to deliver his messages, which on several occasions were of vital importance. He set a most inspiring example of cheerfulness and indifference to fatigue. So yeah, it's quite remarkable, but it literally is just on this little crossroad up here. That's where he got that medal. And once again, if you look at the back of it, it says for bravery in the field.
Yeah.
And then on the side of it, it has his name engraved, right? Which is super special. So yeah, quite remarkable, eh? So
yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. After that, and this is kind of getting to the end of the presentation. Once again, stuff, it's hard to condense such a, like I told you, Rob, when I spoke on the phone, he had quite an amazing story. So this is just a very condensed version. But they eventually do capture Cambrai. There's another big battle that happens there, which he takes part in. And then after that, they're moving through his reserve troops. And then there's a final kind of action. And for First World War standards, it was a walkover because they advanced 14 kilometers in, I think it was 3 days between the 7th and 10th of November, 1918. And they got to the gates of this place called Mons, which we were talking about with that medal.
Yeah.
And they lost no guys killed. There were a few guys wounded.
Oh, really?
It was a sort of open warfare similar to a Second World War battle. And so Billy and all the other guys, they're actually in Mons when the ceasefire happens, and they spent about a month in this city, and they're just more or less celebrating the end of the war. Your grandfather, Rob, was based in this building. This is called the École Normale. So it's the normal school. And we actually have a photo of the 49th Battalion officers on the front steps here. It hasn't changed one bit. And it's funny too, because it's still a functioning school, but one of these windows would have been home to, the runners and your grandpa included.
Oh, wow.
But he would have been walking out for about a month here. There was one time, though, unfortunately, he walked out of here. And if you remember what I said, kind of at the start of it, there's a couple times during the war when he's nearly killed or he nearly dies or something like that. At the end of the war, of course, everyone's coming together. You have people from the United States, people from Australia, all that sort of thing. And I'm sure you guys you would have heard of it, but you have that Spanish flu, which started coming all the way through. So you had survived all the war, all the fighting. And then it's about 2 weeks later, at the end of November, 1918, Billy comes out of the billets, and he doesn't go out to party or anything like that. He actually goes to a hospital, and he's got the flu. And so that flu was deadly because within 3 days you either lived or you died.
Oh wow, really?
And thankfully, he actually lived. I guess because he was in good shape, it might have helped him somewhat.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, it's one of those crazy sort of things, right? And then likewise, if they, it also gave some frustration because, perhaps let's say if Billy actually died from the flu, that was somewhat preventable because he was hanging around in Mons when really he should have been on the boat home. And so for the soldiers, it was even more controversial when once again with Billy come back, but a few weeks later they were going to move out of Mons, and they thought they would be moving westward back home, but instead they marched all the way to Brussels, or where Waterloo, where Napoleon's battlefield was.
Oh, really?
So this is actually where they spend their last Christmas overseas. And you get a day pass to go to Brussels. He had also the whole battalion paraded over to Waterloo to go learn about the battlefield there.
Oh, really?
And, yeah, so it's kind of neat. So even if you visit Brussels and the town square there, or the battlefield of Waterloo, it's the same battlefield that your grandpa visited back in 1918, which is kind of neat. But eventually they do come off. So it's kind of early January 1919. The 49th Battalion is told, okay, time to go to England, to Bramshot. And then they hang around there until more or less the end of February. And it's while they're in Bramshot, just a few weeks before kind of they're all going to go home, that there's a package that arrives from Mons in Belgium. And it's in that package, which is all the medals are distributed. It's those little aluminum medals that you have and your grandpa got. So it came from Mons to when he was in England. After that, he hops on this ship, the Carmania, and then from the Carmania, he eventually comes back to Canada. And as we can see here, he's discharged in Toronto. And what's too bad about this this document here is we see it right up here. It says War Service Badge Class A, number It doesn't actually say the number here, but it should. Normally they do. Now, Rob, you have a little pin with the Union Jack.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that one there. And if you look at the back of it, it's going to say fine for misuse, 6 months imprisonment, or $500 fine, or something. Yeah. Now, it also has a number on there. And it's, once again, it's too bad that it doesn't show up, because that number right on the bottom there, I think it says 134 or something like that. That would actually show up here. And so when you're on that day, that exact day he got his discharge in Toronto at the age of 25, he had won the military medal. We can also see that he had some marks. He had a very slight scar when he got wounded in the left thigh by that artillery shell in the Somme back in 1916. And at the end of all his service, he was given that pin, which he could wear to show he was a veteran of the First World War. Now, those pins meant a heck of a lot to different people. For instance, Orville Palmer would wear that pin all the way up until 1971, the year he passed away.
Oh, really?
I kid you not. And it denoted that, you were a veteran of the front. You couldn't get it if you just served in England. You couldn't get it if you just served in a hospital. You had to actually see action. So it meant a lot to them. If I imagine there's a Legion up there, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so in the 1950s, you of course had a lot of people going to Legions, and especially Second World War veterans and all that. If you were a Second World War veteran, you weren't allowed to go into that Legion on April 9th, because you didn't have that one pin. So April 9th is the anniversary of Vimy Ridge. It kind of was a national law that, if you were just a Second World War veteran who might have landed on Normandy or whatever, you weren't good enough because you didn't have that pin, which marked a real veteran. Yeah. So it's a really special pin. So after the war, he couldn't wear that uniform anymore, but that one little pin you have, so often you find it in photos of the veterans wearing it to any event, even out on a Sunday church or whatever it might be. And it was worn in lieu of their uniform because it represents their service. So it's the same, instead of just the medals, which might be ceremonial. So it's a super special pin.
Yeah, we could.
Is there a chance we can get a copy of that paper?
Yeah, what I'll do, guys, I'll send you
discharge.
Yeah, this is the kind of the end of the presentation. I don't have anything else prepared. But what I'm going to do is, along with sending you guys the link for this video so you guys can hear, I'll also send you guys the link to this presentation, which doesn't have any notes. It just has the visuals. And then I'll also send you a link to the full service file. And I'll just check right here. But I think there's about 60 pages of between pay documents, attestation documents, medical forms, so on and so forth, relating to your grandpa. And it includes this discharge certificate. So
there's a thing here.
Yeah.
November 13th, Christmas. See, it says Xmas. Can you see that?
Well, that's cool.
Xmas, and I can't read the rest of that. It's somebody's signature.
Yeah. So the signature would be the pay officer, giving the guy the money or authorizing the money.
Like, what did that number say?
It looks like 70, hey?
That's what I thought. Is that how much money he had in his little thing there?
Well, that's how much it would be. He would be paid out in francs. And
Oh.
I can't remember the conversion exactly, but you know, for instance, for him as a private soldier, you get paid $1 a day, which is
Yeah.
about $40 in our money now. And then you would also get 10 cents on top of that in field allowance. So for being overseas or in the field.
10
But
cents a day.
that was it. So it's about, you know, $45 a day for being on the front line, fighting through the Battle of Vimy Ridge or whatever it may be. But it's funny because on the other side, the British soldiers or any other nationality, they were actually getting paid less than that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So when it came time to Christmas time or whatever, apparently the ones who knew how to party the most were the Canadians, you know, because they had the money, right? So
And you know, I read, have you ever read Ghosts Have Warm Hands by Will
Yeah.
Bird?
Wilbur, yeah, fantastic. Hey,
There's a book of um, Private Fraser or Private
Yeah.
Fraser's Journal or something.
yeah.
I've read
Yeah.
that. I've read that book. But they said in some of those books, they said the Canadians were the worst ones for getting souvenirs, like
Oh yeah.
you know, picking up pistols and also. And Bill apparently, I don't know. This is just a story I've heard from Donnie Peterson, which was his nephew and stuff, which was older. But anyways, they had
Yeah.
this. I think I told you the story. They had they were in a trench or something, and there was this dead German out there, and he had this pistol in his hand, but he was like stiff, eh?
Yeah.
And then they were betting each other if they could run out there and grab this pistol. So Bill ran out and got this pistol from the guy, and the other guy shot. And then when
Oh
he ran
really?
back,
Covering fire.
yeah. So
Wow.
I think there's this story. They were building this house in Navan, Ontario. I don't know if it's a parent's house or what. They were
Yeah.
working on the house. No, I think it was just a wooden house. And then Bill took this gun and just put it down between the studs in the house or something, and then they just boarded up over the.
Oh really?
And must have been some kind of a World War One German Luger.
Yeah. Oh, that's a shame, hey? Yeah, it's well, you never know what ends up with that stuff, right? Like even I'm just thinking, well, nowadays it's quite tough because I'm sure you've heard there's new gun laws where you can't have pistols or anything like that.
Yeah.
Well, our museum just got a Colt 1911 from the RCMP.
Oh, really?
Our officers, you know, from the First World War.
Yeah.
And it was just meant to be destroyed. But you know,
really?
you wonder how many of these are basically gonna have. But it's interesting that your grandpa would have just kind of thrown the pistol away or whatever, especially considering he risked his life for it.
Well, yeah, no, I don't know. They said something, but they thought, you know, somebody's gonna get hurt with this or something. That's
fair
no
enough.
more dangerous than a garden hole, right? But
Yeah,
but ain't got no bullets in. But yeah, no. This old guy named Floyd Allen, his dad was in the First World War. I'm not sure in what. Like Floyd's dead now, but when I was at his house, he pulls out this Luger.
Oh wow!
Dad brought home from the First World War, and it's in the holster and everything.
Oh, indeed, eh?
I think the belt and everything was there.
Oh,
at home. I've seen that. I had it in my hand. Pretty cool gun, eh?
that is, yeah, it is pretty darn cool, especially when it's a bring back from, you know, like immediate and stuff like that, right? You know? Yeah. Is there any other stories that you know about your grandpa that you remember, or was that kind
of Well, no, yeah. Well, he went fishing a lot.
Yeah.
I think. Well, they said it was the most exciting thing he ever had happen to him in his whole life, and the rest of that, it was like kind of, you know, we did a lot of hunting and a lot of fishing and stuff like that, and he was.
Yeah, makes sense, right? So
I think he coasted a little bit for the rest of his life.
Yeah, he was. I presume he was a pretty quiet guy. Unassuming, that sort of thing, or
no, but he wasn't scared to tell all these stories, though.
Oh, really? Yeah.
They said he'd tell the stories and stuff, eh? You know.
Yeah. Did he frequent many legions and stuff, or no?
He was in the branch 102. Well, that's at Bonspiel, 1953. But he was in the.
Gotcha.
I think I might have another legion thing here. I'm not sure if I do or not.
Yeah.
Well, there's a little legion. That might have been mine when I was in the legion a little bit.
Yeah, I think you showed another one where it was BSL, like British Empire Service League.
Maybe.
Yeah. Interesting. No, because it's all neat stuff, right? The only problem is, you know, they're not alive to tell their story anymore, right? So.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But you know, what I find is sometimes the best is to combine, like, between the stories you tell and then the stories that we can find through our archives and stuff like that.
We kind of have a family kind of a jokey story, kind of funny story. My dad's dad fought in the same war, but on the German side.
Oh, really?
So
There you
that,
go.
you know, Carl and Billy could have been.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
Hey, talk about reconciliation, though, right? Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few more pictures that were these ones. Maybe, I mean, I know you got a million things to do, but I really wondered about the Sergeant Bast, whatever happened to him or who he
Yeah,
was.
I was just looking him up. I can't find. I'm just gonna now. I've got a bigger screen. I just looked them up. There's two that served with the Canadians. Now I wonder if he wasn't actually with the Canadians. If I had a like close up photo, I'd be able to tell. Do you want to just hold it up again? I'm looking at the badge because I think he's with the Medical Corps. Or no. Okay, he's got a flaming bomb on the hat.
Flaming what?
It looks like a flaming bomb on the hat.
It's kind of a funny thing. It looks like a mushroom.
Could be a bomb.
Yeah, I think but the maple is the colors maple leaf. Like
yeah, the collar badges are maple leaf. Billy's got the 49th Edmonton maple leaf.
Yeah, he's
Sergeant things.
And how do you spell the last name? It's Bast. Is that correct?
Yeah, just Bast.
Yeah. Is that uniform? What he looks like? It looks like Yeah, and he's got okay, I see. Yeah, he's definitely what he is. He's a sergeant in what's known as the 87th Battalion, the Canadian Grenadier Guards. Even more so, is he wearing a pistol? Like he's got a
he's got a pistol holster on.
So he's also likely a runner. Does he have an armband?
It didn't look like it to me.
No. What I've got a friend though, and I'll just shoot him a message right now. And if you could send that photo too, that would be great. Because he is the historian for that unit. And I believe he has what's known as a nominal role, right? So some of me, like if any 49er that served through the unit, I could look them up. Because his name might have been not Bast, it might have been something different, but it might have sounded like Bast, if that makes sense. That's what I'm thinking happened right now.
See, Billy's got the snake belt, you know. I got one of those snake belts, but I also got one of these big webbing belts like the other guy's wearing.
Oh, yeah. And both belong to Billy, or?
No, I guess I got them. I got them, like, bought them. I think maybe Mike got them both for me.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know what else to tell you about this guy.
Yeah,
well,
but you know, once again, if you could just send like with your phone or whatever, just a high quality. It just doesn't show up that great on the computer.
No, it probably doesn't. You know how Billy had the like the one patch is a blue patch.
Yeah. And then the top
one's a green one. Well, this other guy just looks like he's just got the green patch and no blue patch underneath.
Oh, yeah. Because what I'm thinking it is, if it's the unit I'm thinking about, it would be a green patch okay, so you'd have a green rectangle at the bottom, and then it would be a red triangle. Of course, you can't really tell the colors, but the problem is sometimes with those triangles, you can't really see with the folds of the seam, because it's all clues, right, to try and help and.
Joe, what is your phone number so I can text you different things?
Yeah, my phone number. In fact, I'm actually the best is always through email right now. I have a WhatsApp. The reason why with phone number, when I go back to France, which is now on Thursday.
Yes.
I'm the phone number gets canceled, but if you want to have it right now, it's 780-709 and then 4949. Okay. And then if you send me photos before Thursday, I'll be able to receive. Okay. That might be the easiest.
Are you MC Donald or MAC Donald?
MAC, but either or, they all work.
This guy's hat badge, it looks like a. What did you say it was called?
Flaming bomb.
Well, it's kind of got like a V-looking thing on the bottom towards like this part of your head, and then it goes up, and then it's got two things kind of. Yeah, looks like almost a mushroomy looking.
Here's what I could do. Let me just pull this up here, and because I think I can share my screen again, and I'll show you the insignia I'm thinking it is. If I go here, do you see the badges up here?
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking it is. Do you concur?
Well, it almost looks like there's a. It looks similar to that for sure. and
Yeah.
it's got like a V thing on the bottom like this.
Oh, really? Okay.
Almost.
Yeah, best is if you could send me a photo of when you get a chance, Bonnie, perhaps just on your
Sure.
phone.
Sure.
And then I could get back to you guys like with that with just a proper follow-up.
Sure.
And then yeah, and then just the information. I'm not the expert for everything, right? But sometimes I know who to ask, and that's
Yeah.
kind of the way. Once again, the expert would have been Billy, but Billy's not here, right? So
Yeah, that's right.
that sort of thing. Yeah. Anyway, well, thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Yeah.
Sorry I took out your whole Sunday afternoon, but
I want to ask you, what is your history of getting involved in this historical information?
yeah, that's a good question. I've been interested since I was a little guy. So I first went to Vimy Ridge when I was 11 years old.
Oh, really?
22, so that's half a lifetime ago. Nowadays, I do the official historian for the Loyal Edmonton Regiment, but I really just do First World War. And so I do a lot with their museum, also their association. And then, as I kind of mentioned before, in the summers, I do battlefield tours. So when I was 16, I ended up moving out to Belgium with my family. And so with all these different places we're talking about, I've actually been there, I've explored them, and not just by a car or on a one-day visit, but I've been to these places multiple times. And so it's a really kind of neat thing where, with these guys, it's very similar to a band of brothers.
Yeah.
Where, similar, as I mentioned yesterday, I was meeting with the family of Orville Palmer, and she was super excited when I told her, yeah, I got this call today with, or tomorrow, I guess it was, the family of Billy Miller, because of course she knew who Billy Miller was too, right?
Right.
So it's kind of neat being that little link, right? And I just all find it so fascinating. But in short, it's my passion, and so it's just nice to share.
So if you were 11 and you went there with your family, with your parents,
Mhm.
and so they must have had some sort of interest.
Yeah, you presume. Well, I went there with my dad, and my dad was certainly interested. But what he did, he wanted to inspire all of his kids to travel. And so he said that when you turn 10 or 11, he'll take you on a trip to anywhere you want to go in the world.
Oh, really?
And that's where you
Yeah, which was awesome. So my sister wanted to go to Japan, so he did Japan with her. And then my brother wanted to go watch a NBA basketball game. So they went to, I forget where they went. They went to the States somewhere. But I always wanted to go to the First World War battlefields. So it's kind of a funny one, right? But all that to be said, I feel like it was something inside of me. So I was just lucky to find it from a young age. And yeah, so but my main interest is the Edmonton Regiment for whatever reason. And so
do you have any family members that were in any of the wars?
yes, in both wars actually. But it wasn't actually with the 49th or anything like that, which I do. But one of my great grandpas, he did fight at Vimy Ridge, and then and sadly he got mustard gas during his service. So when he came back, he was a farmer before the war. And then when he came back from the war, he could take, I don't know, 3 paces without being out of breath.
Oh, wow.
And sadly, he passed away when my grandfather was only 2 years old. So it's one of those things. So my grandpa never really got to know his dad or anything like that. And yeah, so it's kind of interesting from a young age with that sort of connection. But I feel like it's almost more of a connection than that, which led to this passion. But who knows, right? So, but all that to be said, I don't have a good answer about why it ended up like this. But I'm happy to help, and hopefully you guys found this talk interesting today.
Oh, no, it's very interesting. What are you looking for?
Yeah.
That button, you need to keep that button out so you can take a picture of it. Where's that little pin?
Oh,
Yeah, keep
which
it-
little pin? It wasn't
Yeah.
this. He already seen this one.
Oh yeah.
That's
But
one.
also, before I forget to, what's that?
Sorry, you wanted a picture of.
Oh, it's okay. What I want actually later, if you can, Bonnie, is with my phone number. If you could take photographs of the different photographs you have there, like as high quality as you can,
Yeah.
and then send them over to me. That might be the easiest way to do it. And then just based off of their uniform insignia, I might be able to pull out some information that, more than just, oh, there's Billy and there's another soldier.
Let's
That might help identify, right? So the other thing too, I just want to make sure, Rob, because I know we talked about this earlier. I know the jacket you have to your grandpa, it's missing some buttons. Which ones are you missing exactly?
Well, it's missing a pocket button, which is small, which is about 3/4 of an inch.
Yeah.
And it's missing, well, I guess I just found that other button.
That would work for the pocket button. And then it's just missing one of the big buttons up there, right? Like the top one.
Yeah.
What did I do with that button? Yeah, well, this is the, where did I put that damn thing? Yeah, I'm missing one of the pocket buttons from the left breast.
Okay.
What did we do with that button?
Because I know there was one. I think you put it back in the pocket. If I remember.
Oh, I did too.
Yeah.
That one's a big one. That one's a big one.
Okay, so you got the bit. You're just missing a small one for here, right?
The small one. And they're
I
2 per inch.
And we have these medals. Any history to these medals?
Well, that's the military medal he was talking about.
So actually, we can run through the medals quickly. So the first one you showed, that's a military medal for bravery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mentioned when he got that. This medal right there, that's called the British War Medal.
Okay.
And once again, if you see the rim, it's inscribed to him. That was issued for soldiers for going overseas to London, or I'm sorry, to England. Now this one, where some people think it's the LGBT medal, it's not.
Yeah.
But it is. It's actually all the Allied flags together. So that's called the Victory Medal. So if you look at the first, it's the Great War for Civilization, 1914 to 1919.
That's what it says. That's what it says right there.
Yeah, and what's nice about the medal, those are all the original ribbons, and so that's exactly how he would have gotten them. Now the military medal was awarded in 1918. He would have received it in 1919, I believe, whereas the other medals would have been mailed to him in 1922. So they came a bit later. So the first medal he ever got was that little Mons medallion, and that's why it meant so much, right? Yeah, but then so it's remarkable you guys got all that stuff. Once again, it's a huge treasure trove, right? So
I'm wondering what medal my mom gave to Bob when it came out, because they were kind of an estranged family. Because like the one boy that was older, he hanged around in Fort St. John. He ended up being in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And the other boy, he was only 2 or 3 months old or something when his mom died. And so then I don't exactly know. I guess Bob or Bill's mom helped raise him for a while, but then an aunt, which would have been Bill's sister, I guess, came from Navan, Ontario. And then I don't know if he came back. He must have came back a few times, but she kind of raised the boy down there for some reason. And then years later, he married Hattie, my grandma. And then they had my mom.
Ah, gotcha. Yeah. So
mom didn't really have a lot to do with them other kids at all, really.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. That was your mother, right?
Yeah. Sure. My mother gave this medal to Bob, which I could email Jenny, his daughter, somehow, and just take a picture of it just to see what it is, just as an interest thing.
Well, I was wondering if there's a way that you could find out which medals that he would have received, or
the thing is, like, all the medals you guys have there, those are correct. That's 100% correct for him. There's another medal which was commonly issued to soldiers in the First World War, which was in the shape of a star.
I thought it was a star.
Mike thought, maybe that, but the thing is, Billy was never entitled to it, because you would have to be, it was known as the 1914-1915 star. You have to be in France in 1915. Of course, he's still in Alberta at that time.
Right.
He didn't actually get over until the following year. And so the medals you guys have, that's complete. That's all the medals he got.
Okay.
They're not really missing. So it makes, I'm curious myself. So once again, if you guys get that photo, do pass it on to me, and maybe I could take a look. I'm sure Mike might know as well, and that sort of thing, right? So but I'm curious. Unfortunately, Bonnie, I can't tell you right now, at least confidently, right?
Okay.
No.
Sometimes what they did do, though, guys, is they had coming home medals. Different communities would make them, and they were unofficial, but they would be medals, and then on the back they often had the soldier's name inscribed. That's my guess. I've seen ones which are in the shape of a star, and they might have been trying to mimic the other medals.
Okay.
That's my personal guess to what it is, but that's just a guess, right? That sort of thing. So
earlier this week, Rob was mentioning Billy's grave does not have the Legion headstone.
Oh, really?
It's just a regular headstone.
It's just a little tiny thing. It's not even a headstone. It's just like a plate in the ground. And I was wondering, you know how they got the big, like in Flanders Fields, or the big, you know what I mean?
You would have thought when he passed away that the Legion would have taken care of, and I'm pretty sure the Legion did do the funeral.
I think so.
But they would have done his headstone as well. So Rob's going to look into getting one.
Yeah, Rob, if you guys have a photo of that grave, I know a guy. His name's Kyle Scott, and he lives in White Court. And he is. Do you know who I'm talking about, or no?
No, but I don't know what white court is.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but he is phenomenal. So he does tons and tons of work. I think he's done over 3,000 applications to get these veteran headstones.
Oh, really?
That's Lyle.
He's the guy, yeah, Kyle Scott, and I can pass
Kyle.
contact info. He's the guy to talk to. He what mainly they do, and he works for something, I think volunteers for what's known as the Last Post Fund.
Oh, yeah.
And mainly what they do is whenever a headstone's degraded to a certain extent, then they'll replace it with they'll step in and replace it with a military headstone.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
don't know, depending on the condition of the headstone, it might be possible, might not. But if that's something you guys are interested in, perhaps you might be able to privately fund that or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure.
Huh.
But yeah, I mean, I've got the same problem. The headstone for my great grandpa who died of mustard gas. He has a military headstone, but it's just a veteran one. If they died of whatever, like reasons for causes of war or whatever that might be, they should have a maple leaf on the grave. For whatever reason, my great grandpa's is omitted. But I put in a thing with the headstone place that if they ever need to replace it or whatever, they're going to replace it with the maple leaf.
Oh, right. Nice.
Something similar you guys could do. I'm not totally sure, but the best person to contact is Kyle Scott. So I'll pass on his email perhaps to you guys.
Sure.
With the link to the presentation, this video, and that sort of thing. So
Sure.
yeah. Awesome. Well, hey, that was a great chat. It was so nice to meet you guys as well.
Yeah, nice to see you too.
Yeah.
When's a good time to go down there, like next winter maybe, and meet these Palmers or what?
Yeah, no, that would be great. Yeah, next winter is awesome. Even in the fall, perhaps it might be better weather-wise.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they'd love to meet you. I know the that Goldie Fairholm guy, his family, I think, is also in Edmonton. I haven't made contact myself. He was originally from Whitecourt, so if you do want to meet them too, they're on the way. But yeah, the Palmers would love to meet you as well. And we also do those battlefield tours, and they often come out for them.
Yeah,
So
that'd be cool.
an official 49th battlefield tour, you might even meet one of them out there. I'll keep you guys updated if dates ever align or something like that, right? So
And you know that Chipman Kerr is not even that terrible far. He's just a little bit east of Dawson. He was the Victoria Cross guy.
Yeah. And he was, him and his brother both joined up with the our unit. But yeah, they weren't too far away from where you guys are, right?
Not really. I mean,
Yeah.
Over an hour.
It's not Rycroft, it's Spirit River, right?
Spirit River, just north of town. And then him and his brother both signed up, but they often said you either get a Victoria Cross or wooden cross in the war.
Yeah.
And tragically, his brother got a wooden cross, and he got
his brother got killed.
Yeah, but that's how it goes, right? So, yeah. Anyway, but so great to speak with you guys. And also, if it ever comes to it, guys, with the artifacts and with your family, if you ever need to find a good home, we would always welcome it. We can offer a safe place, right? It's just in case it ever comes to it, because I know some families in the past they've even thrown things away. Not saying you guys will.
Yeah.
Best place is always with the family, but in case it ever comes to it, we're always
the museum
donation stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Anyway, you guys take it easy. Have a great evening, and then I'll be in touch. And Rob, I'll shoot you one of those little buttons to complete the uniform as well. So.
Okay. No, thank you for doing that. You bet. I'll take a whole bunch of these pictures tonight because I got some chores to do and stuff.
Yeah, no problem.
Take a bunch of these pictures and Bonnie can text them off with you.
Brilliant. Awesome. Hey, thank you guys so much for listening. Sorry, went over time. I know I said about an hour, but you know how this stuff goes, right? So yeah, you guys have a great afternoon, and I'll catch you through email and stuff like that.
Okay, you bet. Thank you.
Right. No problem. Bye for now.
Bye bye.